Chapter 1084. Zhang Xiaobao's group of 5 headed towards Jiangnan's west road at a speed that was almost equivalent to 800 Li Xiaobei, and the group of children in Jiangzhou's water were already bored. They couldn't get off the boat, nor could they get out of the cabin. They could only hide in the cabin to play and learn, although there was a large cabin for them to move around in, with windows open to let the sun in, and even an indoor swimming pool for them to swim in. They still felt uncomfortable. Even Pan, and the other younger children were always clamoring to go out. The scenery they saw was too dull. Let's eat on the deck at noon. We've pretended to be scared enough. Right now, there are no other boats on the river that can pose a threat to us. It's the same in the water. I don't believe that anyone can swim over here, climb onto the boat, and attack us. Xiaobei stood on a table and leaned against the cabin's window. When he looked out with his binoculars, he said to his equally vexed brothers and sisters below, "I think it's fine." Xiao Yuan agreed. Back then, they hid in the cabin to give the other party the impression that they were afraid. Now that many days had passed, the people they needed to catch had mostly been caught. If there were still people on the other side who hadn't been caught, they probably wouldn't be able to see them. They must be hiding in some hidden place and wouldn't show their faces no matter what. Xiao Yuan looked at Xiaohai as he spoke. Now, Xiaohai was the leader. Don't be fooled by the fact that Xiaohai was usually quiet. Xiaohai pondered for a moment and nodded. It's fine to go out and eat at noon. We have to block the surroundings so that others won't be able to see us. We still have to put on a show for the local people. The things on the boat have basically been distributed to the people. It's just nice to ease their lives. It's been distributed from other places to Jiangzhou. In order to help us, the locals have almost stopped working. There's also a blockade outside. If we still don't distribute things to them, we'll be guilty. Xiaobei continued to look outside with his binoculars. There were many people busy moving things on the dock. There were the most small carts. Things were thrown up, and a person pushed a wheelbarrow very quickly. There were no problems with 300 to 500 kilograms of things being transported to the city. They were all daily necessities that had been transported over from nearby areas for the past few days. They were free of charge. The travel fees and other expenses that the ship had originally planned to earn were also free of charge. After all, Lil Bei and the others had come over to seal off the city, but the other party didn't say anything and even helped to capture people. That it basically didn't work every day and just patrolled everywhere. It was as if they were digging 3 feet into the ground. There were quite a few places that were dug up and people were caught. Therefore, they couldn't just think about taking advantage of the people. Although the people of Jiangzhou felt sorry for Xiaobei and the others, they were willing to contribute for free. Ships of goods were delivered to the docks, and the locals were in charge of transporting them. Then, the local officials and famous people temporarily organized by the locals would distribute the goods to each family, according to the number of people. During this process, they did not forget to know which families were not living well, and whether there were elderly, children, and patients. Be gentle, be gentle. Don't worry. This box is not filled with rice or oil. It's medicine. A foreman at the docks saw the symbol on the box and appeared to be very careful. He also warned the people who came to take over. Originally, 1 person was going to take over, but when they heard that it was medicine, 3 more people came over. The 4 people quickly knitted the rope together into a net and put bamboo poles on both sides to carry it bit by bit. They didn't plan to put on the wheelbarrow at all to avoid bumps. Now, the price of glass had dropped, but it definitely hadn't dropped to the point where ordinary people could afford it. The medicine used by the medical school for intravenous drips was stored in glass bottles, and so were the needles. This process alone was not simple. Although it didn't cost money to treat diseases and use medicine, it didn't mean that the medicine wasn't expensive. The people of Jiangzhou were also very clear about this. It's a life-saving thing, so we have to be careful. It would be great if we could have the used glass bottles. A young man with a bamboo pole on his shoulder in front turned his head to look at the box and said regretfully. The person next to him laughed. Glass is very expensive. We'll give it to you after we use it up. What are you thinking? Do you know how much a glass bottle can be sold for in Japan? At least 5 times. Nonsense. Japan doesn't buy glass bottles for medicine. We don't leave them for you because we're afraid that there will be something called bacteria left on the bottle during treatment, and it will spread to others, especially small bottles. If you touch it and cut it on your hand and get sick again, the court will have to spend more money. One of the people who followed and protected him said, "From this person's dress, one could tell that he was a scholar. To be precise, he didn't pass the exam, but he was literate and could memorize a lot of scriptures. He was a teacher who taught in a school." Master Huang, you are very knowledgeable. Tell me, when will an ordinary family like ours be able to use glass in every house? Look at the glass windows used by rich people. It's really beautiful. Light shines in. It's like there's no cover, but it can block the wind and rain. It's much better than paper windows. There's no need to worry about it turning yellow. The person who spoke first said with a yearning look. The person next to him also echoed, "There's also a glass mirror. It's more than twice as good as a copper mirror. It doesn't need to be polished often. Just use something to rub it and it'll be bright again. Who doesn't buy a mirror when they get married? They'll be looked down upon." As a teacher, he was very satisfied when he heard other people's questions. It showed that he was knowledgeable. He pretended to ponder and said, "Glass and mirror are actually the same thing. Put something on a glass and it will become a mirror. As long as the Zhang family and Wang family are willing, the people of Tang can use mirrors now." Now? Then why don't the Zhang family and Wang family do more? They can't be doing this to earn money from us ordinary people, right? Look at the things they send. It's not cheap. Just because we help them find people, they don't want a penny for the things they send. There's not only food, but also meat. Normally, people can't eat meat every day. But when they come and stop there, they actually transferred a lot of people from other places. They can eat a little every day. There's also more salt. Originally, the salt here needed to be transported from the river. Compared to the local salt, it's 2 copper coins per caddy. Now it's all free. A batch of salt is distributed to each family. It's enough for each family to eat for half a year. With the addition of vegetable oil, it's not worse than the new year. They're so good to us. Why don't they give us glass and mirrors? I don't believe it. The person behind him thought that Teacher Huang was lying. In his mind, the Zhang family and Wang family took good care of ordinary people like him. Not only did they let their children go to school for free, but they also gave them rewards when they had children. They helped them like the emperor. When they fell ill, they also didn't need to pay for treatment. They also helped to build roads and bridges to make it easier to travel. If there was a disaster, they didn't need to pay rent. At the same time, they also provided disaster relief materials. In this way, they would definitely give him a mirror for money. Master Huang shook his head, looking like a child who couldn't be taught. He opened his fan with a snap and gently fanned it twice in the strong wind. Perhaps he was afraid that the wind would break the surface of the fan, so he carefully closed it again and said, "In the future, you should go to night school to learn more. You can't do anything without knowledge. If you don't use glass, the Zhang family and Wang family won't care. They only care about treatment, education, bridge repair, and road repair. They care about the price of food, vegetable oil, and the most important thing is the price of salt. If they care about these, you won't starve to death, you won't be unable to afford salt, and you won't die of a small illness like before. But I've never heard of people dying because they don't use glass. Since you won't die, why should they care about you? Every family has glass and needs a lot of craftsmen. Then, people like Japan and a small country in the southwest will come and give you some money. You can sell glass to them. For the Zhang family and Wang family, glass is a luxury. They count on glass to make money and then subsidize your daily necessities. Disaster relief needs money. Medical needs money. If glass doesn't make money, no matter how big the Zhang family and Wang family business is, there will be a day when they go broke. Do you know what a 3-inch square mirror can be exchanged for on an island outside the sea? It could be exchanged for at least 100 mu of land. In addition, the local leader will arrange for people to plant food. The food produced will be sent here and will be provided to you. When every family has a mirror, it won't be valuable. Do you want to not starve during a disaster, or look at a mirror? Of course, to be full. It seems that when the Tang Empire doesn't want the food outside, when will we be able to use glass and mirrors casually? Teacher Huang, you know the best. If there's no glass, then there's no glass. It's better than no food. The person who spoke later didn't have to think much and gave the answer in his heart. The person in front of him also said, "After we catch the people who want to kill Xiao Bei and the others, I'll find time to learn at night." When I was young, I didn't even dare to think that one day I could learn how to read and read. At that time, there was too little paper and ink. Why don't we let our children go to school now? We don't need to pay for paper and ink. Thinking about it, it's strange that there's suddenly so much paper and ink in the Tang Empire. It's that thing called productivity that has increased. There's always been rich and poor in the world, but there are more people who are not satisfied. Even if they know that their lives are better than before, they still like to compare their lives with the people around them. This is the driving force for improvement and also the root of turbulence. Teacher Huang opened his fan again and used his hand to protect the wind that was blowing around him. He shook it gently a few times, showing an unfathomable look. That person nodded fiercely. Yes, turbulence, it's turbulence. There are still people who want to kill Xiao Bei. They're tired of living and want to kill Xiao Bei and the others. When Xiao Bao and Cuckoo get angry, they won't even be able to eat. Oof. Continue searching at night, and don't let a single one slip through the net. Catch them all, and wait for Xiao Bei and the others to chop off their heads. Where else can they hide? We've already dug out good holes in all the places they could hide. Although we've caught a few people, even 100 holes can't compare to a single person. Another person who was carrying a load muttered, "Then we'll dig 10,000 holes and fill them in after we're done." Let alone a person, even a mouse would be dug out. Another person clenched his teeth and spoke. From the looks of it, he wouldn't hesitate to overturn the entire Jiang prefecture. The people they were thinking about were truly living in fear and trepidation. In Xuanyang city of Jiang prefecture, on a small hill not too far from the city walls, 6 people were hiding under an abandoned temple. Not a single one of the 6 dared to go out, because ever since Xuanyang had imposed martial law, there had always been people in the abandoned temple. Moreover, they had practically turned the entire temple upside down. The reason the 6 of them had not been dug out like rats was because the place they were hiding in was unusual. They were hiding under a latrine pit. This latrine pit had not been there when they first started digging the tunnel, but later on, they felt that this place was not important, so they turned it into a latrine. Thus, the latrine pit had appeared. In the past, when they were gathered, they had always been in the ruined temple. This time, they truly had no other place to hide, so they could only hide in the latrine pit, which even gave them a foul odor. "Fangzi, it's no good. If we continue to stay here, in less than 3 days, I'll be suffocated to death by the smell. A ventilation hole against the wall is simply not enough. From time to time, because we haven't closed the hole properly, feces will drip down. Can you see if you can fix it?" One of the 6 said to the person next to him, who was leaning against the wall with his eyes closed. There was no light in the tunnel. There was only a very small ventilation hole against the wall, making it seem like a crack. When this person called Fangzi opened his eyes, even if he couldn't see anyone, it was much more comfortable to talk with his eyes open. "I fixed it, but I didn't dare to touch it again. If I didn't do it right, it would all fall down with a crash. Not only would we drown to death, if someone went to the latrine up there, they would also discover us." Originally, there wasn't much feces and urine in the latrine pit. It was all done when we came here to discuss matters. Who could have expected that it would become their place? As a result, every day, quite a few people would come in to shit and pee. But we didn't dare to carelessly touch it. Didn't you hear what was going on up there? As soon as they came, they tore down the temple. They dug under the Buddha's statue and under the pillars, as if they really knew we were down there. Fortunately, they didn't dig up the base of the wall, or else we would have all been captured. Fortunately, we put quite a bit of food and water in here. Although we can only eat it raw and the water isn't clean, it's still better than being captured, beaten, and then decapitated. In any case, we're already smelling like this, so we can just take care of eating and drinking in the tunnel. If we persist a little longer, I believe that in just a few days, they'll leave. I really didn't expect. The other 5 knew what Fangzi meant by didn't expect. At the time, they had not directly participated in the operation to blow up Xiao Bei and the others. They were considered undercover personnel. As a result, As soon as they began to act, all of Xuanyang was immediately placed under martial law. Squads of soldiers rushed onto the streets and began to search house to house. They realized that something was wrong, so they fled to this abandoned temple. Then, they realized that this place was also not safe, so they could only endure the smell and enter, rubbing themselves against the dirty stuff. They had originally believed that they would hide for at most 2 days. Xiaobei and the others wouldn't take the risk of stopping the people of Xuanyang from searching for so long. Who could have expected that when someone entered the latrine, they would say something that they didn't dare believe? At the time, 2 people had come in together to relieve themselves. From above, they began to discuss this matter. One of them said that if they couldn't find the person behind the scenes, they would rather not do any work and continue the search. Otherwise, in the future, they wouldn't have the face to eat the food sent by the imperial court during a disaster, nor would they have the face to go to a medical clinic when they fell ill. The other was even more ruthless. He swore that even if he had to dig 3 feet into the ground and flip through all of Xuanyang, he would drag that person out. He would first break the bones of the person's 4 limbs and then skin them. Moreover, he wouldn't skin them to death, but rather peel off a small piece of skin and stick it with hemp to stop the bleeding. When the skin was almost healed, he would peel off the hemp. Only when the flesh was peeled off layer by layer and the bones exposed would the end be considered over. The other helped to replenish the wounds. He said that he would use salt water to disinfect the flesh, brush salt water on the exposed areas, tie them up, rub sugar on the body, and bring them to the side of the ant nest so that the ants could eat them bit by bit. When he heard this, he felt his blood run cold. Even a murderer of one's father could only be this much. It wasn't like they had bombed them, so why not let them go? Were Xiaobei and the others that popular? The result was that day after day, they would hear a little bit of news every day. In summary, a portion of them used the temple as a place to rest. Then, every day, they would send people out to look for places with holes that could allow people to hide. They would also find some place where smoke would suddenly rise from the kitchen chimneys, and they wouldn't even let go of a graveyard. They would rather take the risk of offending the corpses of the dead by first offering incense, burning paper money, and kowtowing an apology, also that they could dig up the graves and see if anyone was hiding inside. Crazy, all of them were crazy. Even more frightening was that every day they would hear the higher-ups say that they had caught a few more, where they had been caught, and how they had been dealt with after they had been caught. Some were hiding in tunnels, some were in cellars, some were in wells, some were on the roof beams, some were in the gaps between the boats on the river, some were in the dense canopy of a certain tree in the forest, some were hiding in other people's storehouses, and so on and so forth. In any case, they would search every nook and cranny, and they would search over and over again. Those that were caught would also be interrogated again and again, and those that could provide clues would suffer less. The temple that the 6 of them were hiding in had been mentioned more than once. Fortunately, of the people who knew of this underground tunnel, other than the 6 of them who were still in the city, none of them were in Xuanyang. Even so, they did not dare to lower their guard. When eating, they had to be quiet. When speaking, 2 people had to be awake when sleeping because they were afraid that the others would snore. Even so, there were still people who would talk in their sleep, saying that they had been caught and were willing to perform a meritorious deed, and so on. No one knew if someone not in Xuanyang City would be caught or not, but if they were caught, perhaps they would reveal everything. Right now, they could only hope that it would end quickly, or that the ceiling would be dug up. If that was the case, they would give up. What was before them was the most torturous. I'd rather die here than be caught by them, Fongzi added. None of the 5 made a sound, presumably because they were thinking the same thing. 5 days later, on the official road leading to Jiang Province, a 2-wheeled carriage pulled by 3 horses was traveling at half the speed of a normal carriage. The driver wore a bamboo hat on his head, but it did not completely cover his face because when he raised his head, he would occasionally look around for a while so that people could easily see his slightly white hair and the beard that followed the corners of his mouth down to join the beard on his chin, hanging in front of his body. From time to time, the driver would even crack his whip a couple of times, the cracking sounds causing the people the carriage passed to furrow their brows. This, coupled with his seemingly verbal curses, was even more eye-catching. As for who was sitting in the carriage, the people outside had no idea. The speed of the carriage also made it impossible for the people inside to easily get off. At the same time, the curtains of the carriage were tightly shut. No matter how strong the wind was, not the slightest gap could be created. A plaything that only eats and doesn't poop, giddy up. A plaything that only eats and doesn't poop, giddy up. The voice of the carriage handle sounded again. Of the 4 people sitting in the carriage, 3 of them were already confused by the shaking, but the woman sitting opposite them was very natural, as if she did not care about the jolting. I still think riding a horse is better. I would rather have my thighs scratched than be shaken by the carriage. But I have to admit that the young master's driving skills are indeed extraordinary. It seems that there is nothing in the world that the young master doesn't know. Don't you think so, Zhongnan? No, I think the young master doesn't know how to give birth, Zhongnan replied. What if he does? Wang Gang, do you want to die? Wang Wan, sitting opposite him, spoke. I wouldn't dare. I'm just joking. I'm just praising the young master. Boss, do you think we can really meet them while we're driving? The carriage is going too fast. Even if we meet them, they won't be able to catch up. Wang Gang shrunk his neck, smiled, and asked Wang Wan, what do you know? Xiao Bao has no intention of making contact with them right now. Xiao Bao is just putting on an act for our family's intelligence network and the Emperor's intelligence network to see. We're about to enter the lower realms of Jiangzhou. We're not going to Xuanyang. We're going straight to Poyang Lake. The 3 of you should continue to familiarize yourself with what I've taught you. If anyone is recognized by our intelligence network, we won't bring them along to play in the future. If you think you're not good enough, then you're incessantly giving them psychological hints. Wang Wan explained Zhang Xiaobao's goal in doing this, then gave the 3 of them some pointers. But the 3 of them still didn't understand. Zhang Yu asked in confusion, Boss, why do you want our intelligence network to keep an eye on us? Since we don't want them to recognize us, can't we just not be so ostentatious? If we don't keep an eye on them, how can we get in touch with the other side's people? Now that Xuanyang is sealed off, all of Jiangzhou is jittery at the slightest sound. The contact points the other side left behind are guaranteed to be gone. If we want them to find us, we have to have our people keep an eye on us. I trust that the other side has already guessed which one is our people. Anyone that our people keep an eye on is also someone that the other side keeps an eye on. When they see Xiao Bao disguised as Ning Tian, they'll definitely think of a way to get in touch. As for us, we're just opening a shop. You know what kind of shop we're opening. Remember to cooperate well. Not only do we need to catch the other side, we also need to catch the people who are addicted to drugs after they've been corrupted. Understood? Wang Wan's explanation this time was detailed enough. The 3 assistants nodded in unison. We understand. But where's the opium pipe? We didn't bring it. When we get there, we'll make on the spot. You're not allowed to secretly eat that thing. Don't think that because you have enough willpower, you'll be dealt with once you get addicted. Wang Wan warned them. Chapter 1085. From a map, the distance between Hangzhou and Poyang Lake was only the distance of Pengli Lake. On a smaller map, it was only the distance of a palm. However, it was not easy to get there on foot. Riding horses and using fast carriages, they had already traveled for 8 days. Zhang Xiaobao and the others were still 2 days away from their destination. The main reason was that when they encountered mountains, they had to walk on planks. Even if they wanted to go fast, they could not. Fortunately, the important water systems of the Great Tang, under the efforts of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, were becoming more and more important. As a result, the roads along the coast were not bad. The annual cost of maintenance and repair by the imperial court was no less than 10 million strings of coins. This was a very large amount, accounting for 1/16 to 1/17 of the total revenue. Furthermore, it increased every year. The money spent on maintenance and repair was not practical. Most of it was invested into improving the farmland around the various water systems. Without such a large investment, it was impossible to have so much revenue. Under the situation where the speed of transportation by land was not fast enough, the water system took up a large proportion of the logistics application. This was especially so when the water was flowing smoothly. No matter how good the wind was, the sails were raised. Even a fast horse running on the shore could not compare to a ship traveling on the water. When the horse was tired, the ship did not need to rest. Furthermore, the technology of shipbuilding was more advanced now. As a result, Zhang Xiaobao and the others were only half a day away from their destination, Tang. The roads along the river were relatively wide. There was a distance of 5 meters between each side. They were all paved with mud and gravel. Then, they were flattened with large stones. At the side, there was a road paved with gravel for people to walk on. It was not wide, but it was definitely not a problem for people to walk on it. The reason why the horses did not walk on concrete roads was because of the horses' hooves. Zhang Xiaobao had specially asked people to experiment. Even if the horse was hooved, it was still unable to run on a concrete road continuously. The wear and tear was too great. Furthermore, during the process of friction, the heat generated could easily hurt the horse. When it rained, the road along the river was not very good to walk on. There were muddy places. When the horses and other animals passed by, each hoof would leave a small hole on the road. When the rainwater entered, it would not dry up for a long time. Now, Zhang Xiaobao's group of 5 had encountered this problem. When they were about half a day's journey away from Douchong, a moderate rain fell. In less than an hour, the road that had been flattened by stones was soaked by the rain. Every time the horses' hooves landed on the road, they would kick up some dirt. At this moment, the driver changed from Zhang Xiaobao to Zhang Yu. Zhang Xiaobao was in disguise and was afraid of being hit by the rain. Even if there was oil in the disguise, it could easily be washed away. Almost 30 li, right? Let's go to the pavilion in front and rest for a while. Look at the sky. It won't rain for long. Wang Wan lifted the curtain of the carriage and looked at the rain outside. She said to Zhang Yu, who was driving the carriage in front, "I can see the pavilion." Zhang Yu, who was wearing a bamboo hat, looked through the curtain of rain and saw the pavilion in front. He replied to the people in the carriage. The pavilions along the river were specially built for people to rest. There was one every 30 li, which was similar to the one in Sanshui County. It was much better than before. In the past, not to mention specially built pavilions, even if there were slightly more villages nearby, it was difficult to find a place to rest alone. In the past, if people did not dare to take a boat or could not afford to take a boat, they could only walk. If they were tired, they could find a place nearby. If they could find a village, it was considered good. When they encountered a place with many people, there might be a simple shed built there for pedestrians to rest and eat. Basically, it was not profitable. People who walked did not have much money. The food they ate was also brought from home. There were dried biscuits and fried rice. Of course, the flour was not pure white flour. When they arrived at the place to rest, if they did not want to spend money in tea, they could only ask for a bowl of cold water and eat. It was good enough that they were not hungry. Naturally, they slept beside the shed. Otherwise, it was easy to encounter wild animals. Now that there were pavilions, it was much more convenient. There was one every 30 li, and one every 20 li if the road was very difficult to pass. There were also people from the nearby villages who were specially guarding the pavilions. They were allowed to use hunting bows and hunt wild animals to sell money or eat themselves. A few minutes later, the carriage arrived at the pavilion. At this time, there were many passers-by waiting in the pavilion. There was also a fire in the pavilion. The kettle on the fire was steaming, so people could drink hot water at any time. Although it was called a pavilion, it wasn't the kind that was open on all sides. Instead, it was a 2-story building. The lower floor was made of cement and bricks, and it was 3 meters high. The upper floor was a wooden pavilion built on top of the cement house. The house below was built when Zheng was building the embankment. Originally, there was no pavilion on top, but the locals felt that although the house was sturdy, it did not look good, so they got some wood from the mountain and built a pavilion on top of it. It was very beautiful. With the appearance of the first pavilion, there was a second. As a result, all the pavilions on both sides of the Yangtze River had their own characteristics. Some people even hung wind chimes in the corners of the pavilions. The pavilion that Zhang Xiaobao and the others stopped at was very beautiful. It had 4 corners and was painted red with paint. Some of the edges were not painted, revealing the black and yellow wood inside. There was not enough paint. There was a fence around the pavilion. It was made of wood and was about 3 feet high. There was also a seat on the fence. There were 3 people who had gone to the pavilion to take shelter from the rain. They were standing on the fence, feeling the coolness of the rain that was blowing in from the outside. It was estimated that when the rain stopped, their clothes would be completely soaked. The rest of the people were not in the mood. They all stayed below. Some people came early and sat there when there was a seat. Those who came late either squatted or stood, holding tea or wine in their hands. They ate the food they brought. Those who had money and were willing to spend it bought other food from the people guarding the pavilion. There were 2 people guarding the pavilion. One was about 50 years old, and the other was about 30 years old. Judging from their faces, they should be father and son. The older one had a face full of wrinkles, and the one in his 30s had a slightly inconvenient leg. When he walked, his steps were smaller than a normal person's, and he did not have much strength. Perhaps he had been injured. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang did not see that the other party had polio. It was just that his leg was not very comfortable, and there were no other problems. There was also a spear and a longbow hanging on the wall for hunting. Although the road was not bad now, there were still many wild animals. Military guns could not be given to ordinary people. Hunting bows were allowed to be used by ordinary people. Occasionally, wild boars, wolves, and tigers would come out of the mountains. These were things that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang did not even think about. If you wanted to see such animals, you could only go to a special breeding place or a zoo. The control of knives and spears was even more lax. Not to mention ordinary people. Even if a scholar was equipped with a sword, no one would care. It was indispensable for self-defense. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang were looking at the pavilion, the people in the room were also looking at the 5 of them. The carriage was parked not far from the door, and the horses were covered with rain gear. The people in the room could clearly see the 3 horses. With one look, they knew that the 5 people who came in were not ordinary people. The horses were good. Even people who did not know how to judge horses could feel that the 3 horses were much better than the horses used for farming. This was Jiangnan. There were not many horses used for farming. Horses from other places were usually used to pull carriages. Now, the horses used were mostly oxen. The original Tujue and Tubo horses, as well as the extra military horses, were all used in the north. The main reason was that horses were not good at farming in paddy fields. They could not be compared to oxen, but in dry fields, oxen were far inferior to horses. With one look, it was obvious that these 3 horses were retired military horses. They did not know how effective they were when riding them in battle, but they definitely had no problem pulling carriages. Even if they were not required to sprint over short distances, these horses were faster than the horses used to pull carriages. The endurance of the horses depended on where they were from. If it was a horse that had been discarded from a certain garrison in the border army and used for long-distance raids, its endurance would definitely be unquestionable. However, if it was a horse that was used for key counterattacks in the city, what was required was not endurance, but speed in a short period of time. After the battle, it would return and would not chase people too far away. The people in front of them did not know what type of horses the 3 horses in front of them were, but they guessed that they could run long distances. Otherwise, it would be better to get a mule to pull a carriage. With a guess in mind, the person who spoke quickly asked Zhang Xiaobao, "The horses are not bad. How much did you pay for them?" He talked to Zhang Xiaobao because Zhang Xiaobao was dressed like the leader of the other 4 people. On the other hand, Ning Tian looked like someone who was not close to Zhang Xiaobao, would not be able to tell the difference between Ning Tian and Zhang Xiaobao. Their figures and faces were very similar, which was why Zhang Xiaobao wanted to talk to Ning Tian more. At first, he just wanted to get some information from her, but after seeing Ning Tian, Zhang Xiaobao suddenly had other ideas. That was why he asked Wang to draw a few more portraits. If Ning Tian had a crew cut and shaved off her beard, Zhang Xiaobao would be in trouble. He would not be able to make such an outfit, even if he worked himself to death. This was also why he usually shaved the heads of criminals. Other than being hygienic, it was also easier to recognize. When he heard someone ask, Zhang Xiaobao imitated Ning Tian's voice and said to the person sitting there drinking, "I didn't spend much money. It's not expensive. I bought it from a random house on the road." Naturally, the others did not believe his words. They just felt that he did not want to say too much, so no one forced him to say it. After all, they were not familiar with each other. At this time, the person who had trouble walking saw the 5 people coming in. His eyes lit up. From the clothes they were wearing, he could tell that they were the wealthy type. Money can make more money. The purpose of the pavilion was to provide convenience for passers-by. Even if people did not spend money and stayed in the pavilion, the guards were not allowed to chase them away. At the same time, the hot water was free. The only way to earn money was if people were willing to spend more money to eat other things. The pavilion was built by the river, so the fish in the river were indispensable. There was also wine and tea, as well as other food prepared by the guards of the pavilion. Of course, even if there was no additional income, it was not a big deal. Those who guarded the pavilion would receive subsidies from the government. For example, those who had trouble walking would be arranged to stay in the pavilion. Usually, they would not be allowed to leave casually, and they were not allowed to go hunting outside. If a pavilion encountered trouble, such as a pack of wolves attacking, the guards of the pavilion would hide in the pavilion when they saw that they could not win. Then, they would release a signal, such as setting off fireworks and smoke signals. At that time, people would come to help. As for people harming the guards of the pavilion, it was impossible for it to happen now. Now that the lives of the people of Great Tang were good, who would have the time to harm others? If someone really dared to claim that they were the king of a mountain and then rob passers-by, such as running to the 800-li Lake Liang mountain or something like that, they could raise a flag today and use cannons to flatten the mountain tomorrow. Not to mention that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had developed Great Tang for so long. Even if the two of them did not come to develop, there were not many death row criminals in Great Tang at this time. If they had the energy, they might as well think of ways to do more work that could earn more money. The path of robbery was not easy to walk. Once they were discovered, they would definitely be caught. Therefore, the guards of the pavilion did not earn much, but they lived a stable life. They would not become human meat buns. The heroes of the forest had long disappeared, and there were no big gangs. This was an organization formed by the children of the small rich families. They were considered a gang, but they did not dare to hurt people. Generally speaking, they would go hunting in the mountains or swagger on the streets. If they raised a dog or fought a chicken, even if they were a gang, they would directly capture them if they wanted to collect protection fees. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's businesses were all over Great Tang. Once such a thing was discovered in a branch, someone would immediately come to investigate. Once found, it would definitely be dealt with. In peace, the guards of the pavilion wanted to earn more money. Those who had trouble walking deliberately brought a tray over and said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Brother, are you hungry?" "I'm hungry." Zhang Xiaobao was actually not hungry, but if others wanted to earn money, he had to help them. If he did not buy them, how could they earn money? If he directly gave them alms, they would definitely not accept it, unless he revealed his identity and said that he was Zhang Xiaobao. In that case, he could throw out a handful of money, and they would accept it. Then, they would take it back home and use it as an amulet for their relatives. The guard of the pavilion did not know what Zhang Xiaobao was thinking. When they heard that he was hungry, they could not help but smile and ask, "What do you want to eat?" "Eat whatever you have. There's enough for 5 people. Don't make too much. We can't finish it," Zhang Xiaobao said as his eyes looked around, looking for a seat. Before he could think of a way to get the others to give him a table, the older people had already taken out a folding table from a nearby room. They squeezed out an empty space and placed the table properly. There are also 5 wooden stools without backs. "Old Chi, why didn't you take out the table when we came? Is it because you don't pay enough for the food we usually eat?" Seeing the table, someone immediately joked to the old man, "My daughter is here. It's not good to let her stand." The old man, surnamed Chi, did not care about the other person's words and casually found reason. "Zhang Yu is smart." She smiled at the surrounding people and showed the friendliness that she should have. She quickly wiped the table and used her sleeves to rub the stools. looking like a servant. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not hesitate to sit down. The dishes were immediately placed on the table. There were no hot dishes, all of them were cold. The only thing that was hot was the boiled tea eggs and normal salted eggs. There were quite a lot of them. These things were easy to eat and easy to carry around. They were not easy to eat and would not spoil easily. They could still be eaten after 3 to 5 days. The dishes on the table included dried fish, braised chicken, a plate of mixed vegetables, and smoked meat of unknown animals. Zhang Xiaobao was not worried that others would poison him, unless the people guarding the pavilion were more powerful than him, better at disguising and hiding, and knew his identity. He reached out his chopsticks and picked up a piece of cut smoked meat, put it in his mouth, and chewed it. He nodded with satisfaction and said to Wang Wan, "Good, wild boar meat. It's hard to chew, but it tastes good." Hearing that it was wild boar meat, Wang Gang and the other 2 people also picked up their chopsticks. Usually, they were busy with their work and could not eat it at all. Unless there was no task, they would go back to their branch and submit a report. If they wanted to eat something, the higher-ups would get it for them, especially Wang Gang, who belonged to the Zhang family and the Wang family. The benefits were the best. Generally, he could eat anything that was not particularly rare, including chili, potatoes, and tomatoes. "Old Chi, yesterday I finished my work and asked you if you had any wild boar meat. What did you say to me? You said that we had eaten all of it, and you have it today?" The person who joked just now said to the old man, "You only know how to eat. Wild boar meat is expensive, so I saved money for you and gave it to your wife at home. You don't want it. If I give it to you every day, you will eat all the money you earn. Be careful that your wife won't let you in." Old Chi stared at him and said, "If she dares, I'll lend her some courage. If you don't have wild boar meat, you should have beans, right? If you don't, give me a plate of salted beans. I'll go back after drinking. It seems that I can't continue to work today." He had not finished his wine yet, but the plate of smoked chicken was gone. Zhang Xiaobao gave Wang Gang a look. Wang Gang stood up and went back to the car. After a while, he came back with a big oiled paper bag. He opened it and showed what was inside. The meat that was darker than the smoked wild boar meat was prepared by Zhang Xiaobao and brought out for the journey. The braised donkey meat was not something that ordinary people could eat. It was not much different from eating a cow and was considered a labor force. Every household had to file a record with the government. Even if they fell ill, they had to tell the family, even if the animal was yours. When I came here, I brought some donkey meat. At that time, a family member's donkey accidentally died, so I bought a piece. Try it. There's a lot of meat. I ate it along the way and got tired of it," Wang Gang said, and began to distribute the donkey meat to others. He had cut the donkey meat in the car just now. When they heard that it was donkey meat and that it was a treat, the people in the room expressed their gratitude and became more talkative. In the end, Wang Gang gave all the remaining donkey meat to the person who joked with Old Chi. He said with a smile, "It's hard to work in the rain. What's your surname?" "My surname is Liu, and my name is Chong. You have been on the road for a long time, right?" When the person saw that Wang Gang gave more donkey meat, he became more enthusiastic. "Oh, it's Brother Liu. We have been on the road for a long time. The road is easy. I heard from the old people that if it was in the past, it would take at least 3 times longer to walk the same road." Wang Gang did not use other excuses. He directly said that they came from afar and were gossiping. He seemed to be very emotional. "That's right. If it was 10 years ago, it would have taken at least 5 times longer, let alone 3 times longer. At that time, the road by the river was not easy to walk on. There were cliffs and forests on both sides. It was very scary to walk on it. It was fine during the day, but it was very common to accidentally lose one's life at night. You were still young back then, so you shouldn't have walked on it. The road back then was not as fast as it is now. You had to calculate how far you would walk every day and where you would rest. You didn't dare to walk casually. If you encountered a forest, don't enter it. There are snakes and insects in it that can bite you. Now it's fine. You don't have to worry anymore. You built a road along the river and widened it every day. After a few years, it became what it is now. If you want to hurry, you can come out at any time. If you are tired, you can find a pavilion to rest. Even if you don't have a single copper coin on you, You can still eat free food in the pavilion. It's just that the taste is not very good. You can eat the coarse grains as much as you want. Even if you walk all the way to the capital without a single copper coin, you don't need to beg for food, unless you tire yourself to death. Lu Zhongyi was full of emotions as he spoke. When he compared the past to the present, it could be said that he was reminiscing about the past and reminiscing about the past. As he spoke, the people around him began to chime in, talking about how they were in the past and how they were now. There was no lack of praise for the great Tang Emperor Lilongji, but most of them were talking about little Cuckoo. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other and smiled happily. Wang Gang and the other two were also proud, especially Wang Gang. This was what the main characters, the young master and young lady, did. 10 years ago, who would have thought that things would turn out like this today? After being happy for a moment, he continued to talk to Lu Zhongyi. Brother Lu, what kind of work do you do? Can't you go out on a rainy day? It's not a good job. It's only 20 copper coins a day. It's just by the river. We look after boats for people. If there's anything wrong with the boat, we help to fix it. There are 6 of us, and we specialize in this. Don't think that it's easy to look after boats. Normal people can't do this. When talking about the money he earned, his words were modest, but his expression and tone were not modest at all. 20 copper coins a day, presumably, did not include the cost of repairing the boat. Wang Gang quickly showed a look of admiration and said, "So it's a craftsmanship job. Awesome. I don't know how to look after boats. How can I not know what's wrong with a boat when I use it myself? Give me a boat, and I'll row it. If you use it yourself, you'll know what's wrong with it. But when I look at boats, I don't look at the problems in front of me, but in the future. Let me tell you, some boats don't look bad, but if they're not fixed properly, they won't last long. Waiting for people who have boats to find out what's wrong with them will cost more money. Using a boat for 1 more year means saving money. It's not cheap." Lu Zhongyi began to talk to Wang Gang about the importance of looking after boats. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan listened with smiles on their faces. They really didn't know that boats needed other people to look after them, but they did know that cars in the past needed people to look after them. Those who were skilled at fixing cars would sit in a house by the side of the road. As soon as a car passed by, they would know whether or not there was a problem with the car and where it was. Perhaps those who could see through cars were like the average driver, able to fix simple problems with their own hands, but they definitely did not have the skill to do so. As Wang Gang chatted with the people in the room, they began to talk about Douchong. He knew that the situation there was very strict, as they were both under the jurisdiction of Jiang Province. He also knew that Xuanyang Prefecture still allowed people to enter but not leave. Only the common people who worked at the docks could leave the city and go to the docks to transport goods if they mutually guaranteed each other. Big Brother Lu, do you know of any fun things to do in Douchong? My family's master just loves this sort of thing, like cricket fights or releasing eagles. As long as it's something that can make people feel comfortable and enjoy, my family's master is willing to try it. We're about to reach our destination. Once the rain stops, we'll be on our way. We can't just go there in the dark. If you know anything, tell me." After chatting for a while, when the rain began to lessen, Wang Gang finally asked about his goal. Lu Chang revealed a mysterious expression at Wang Gang's question. "You've asked the right person this time. Do you know where I'm from? I'm from the Douchong that you're asking about. Over there, the 6 of us have a shipbuilding workshop that specializes in building fishing boats. Quite a few of the fishing boats in the lake were built by us. Originally, our days were very peaceful, but who could have expected that someone would want to kill Xiao Bei and the others? Although they didn't succeed, we've become very strict, especially the people who make a living on the lake. Every day, they have to be checked. When they're going out, where they're going to fish, or where they're going to carry people, they all have to be asked. If they can't answer or stutter, they're bound to be captured and then carefully investigated. Their days aren't as good as they used to be, and it's also not easy for us shipbuilders to get jobs. In the past, if someone wanted to build a ship, they just had to come and give us a deposit. Now, they have to go through several procedures before they're allowed to come to our place and let us build a ship. We haven't been able to get any work for several days, and there are also other people who don't have a livelihood, so they can only come out to find something to do. There's nothing to be done." "Ah, Big Brother Lu, you can't survive? Wang Gang asked in astonishment. Kid, don't listen to his nonsense. He just wants to make more money. Although the investigation is strict, that's something that the people of Xuanyang City can't do. The influence on Do Chong isn't that great, Old Man Chi said from the side. Lu Chong chuckled, then said, Yes, it's because he wants to make more money. Just think about it. The Zhang family and the Wang family have put all of Jiangzhou under martial law. So when the time comes, they'll definitely compensate us. We don't have any work to do at home, and although we'll receive the compensation, the money won't be small. But right now, I'm not staying at home. I've come out to do work, and every day's work is another day's worth of money. Otherwise, how could I dare to use the majority of the money I earn every day to eat and drink, and even save some money? It's because there's compensation. Did the Zhang family and the Wang family say that they'll compensate us? Zhang Xiaobao asked. Lu Chong shook his head. They didn't say, but I believe that they'll definitely compensate us. The Zhang family and the Wang family are the pillars of the great Tang, so they wouldn't intentionally harm us. They also don't lack our money. In truth, to speak from my heart, it doesn't matter if they don't compensate us. It's just that we've been delayed for a while. Our family has some savings, so we won't starve to death. I'm also very angry. Xiao Bei and the others came once, but before they could even get ashore, they were schemed against. It's too hateful. If I find out who did it, I'll use a chisel to kill them. If we wait until this matter is over, it'll be fine if the Zhang family and the Wang family don't directly compensate us. It'll be best if they help us come up with some ideas that will make it easier for us to make money in the future. What's that saying again? Even if we give them to mermaids, we might as well teach them how to catch fish. In life, we have to plan for the long term. It's not like the past, where we always have to worry about the next meal. Now, we can eat 3 meals a day as we please. There's also money in the bank. Zhang Xiaobao thanked him and turned back to continue drinking. Wang Gang asked Lu Chong again, Brother Lu, since you're from Dochong, why don't you tell us about the fun things there? For example, things that ordinary people can't afford to play, and things like worshiping Buddha. Wang Gang just wanted to know if ordinary people knew about the drug abuse situation. If they knew, it meant that the other party had started to do it openly. If they didn't, it meant that they were still afraid. Lu Chong didn't answer immediately this time. Instead, he lowered his head and thought for a moment. Then, he raised his head and said, If you want to talk about something interesting, it can only be on the lake. In the past, Pengli Lake was filled with people and goods, as well as fishing boats. Now, there are more pleasure boats there. I heard that there's a pleasure boat that doesn't dock and hides in a remote place. Ordinary people can't find it, but those who have been there say that it's good. There are also officials who go there. I don't know the details. If you haven't been on a boat, ordinary people can't get on. In the past, I heard that there was a place for them in the city. Later, they were strict, so there's no news about them. But you have to be careful when you go there. I don't think it's a good place. I heard one of our shipbuilders mention that there was some kind of miracle there, and it's all messed up. Some say that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are monsters. Anyway, I don't believe it. They're probably not good people. If you don't have to go there, don't go there. There's a dog fighting place in the city. You can go there and buy a few dogs. It's just that it's too bloody and I can't stand it. They're good dogs, so why do they have to bite each other? Lu Chang's words were a little incoherent, as if he was avoiding something, but also seemed to be a little angry. When Zhang Xiaobao saw Lu Chang's expression, he understood a lot of things in his heart. That force was not small, but it always liked to keep a certain appearance, so the people didn't want to talk about it. There were people who believed in ghosts and gods since ancient times, and it was never a small number. And the spies and his family probably didn't find the boat. Maybe the other party's security measures were very good, and the spies didn't want to catch the other party's people in the city, so that the people hiding on the boat wouldn't notice and escape. What he didn't understand was why the spies and his family couldn't find the boat when the local officials were also there. It was very interesting. Thinking like this, Zhang Xiaobao looked at the sky outside. The rain had become lighter. If he walked out, he didn't have to worry about getting wet. It was just a drizzle. Then he nodded to Wang Wan, drank the wine in the bowl, and said to Zhang Nan and Zhang Yu, "Get ready to leave." Zhang Nan and Zhang Yu saw that there were still some dishes on the plate, so they opened their mouths and ate them all into their stomachs. If they packed, there might be no one to eat. If it was too little, it was not worth it. If they threw it away, they were afraid that the people in the house would say that it was a waste. They got in the car. This time the driver was Zhang Nan. After the car drove for a while, Wang Wan said the same idea as Zhang Xiaobao. She asked, Xiaobao, why do you think our people can't find the other party's boat? And that Hu Liang, where are the 8 of them now? There has been no news. Is this not the Tang Empire? Let's talk about it when we get there. They probably used some other means. Maybe they switched the officials after they boarded the ship. After all, our people can't follow too closely. If we were discovered and they ran away, we would only be able to catch small fries. It seems that our plan needs to be changed. I was worried that after Ning Tian had been managing things here for so long, he might have gone to Hangzhou for a period of time. His power here had been taken over by someone else. Their cooperation wasn't stable, and backstabbing was very common. It's not clear now. After we get to Douchong, we'll see what we can do. If Duo Shi is involved and is the leader, what do you plan to do? Zhang Xiaobao also couldn't figure out what was going on there, because others were not fools. They wouldn't do what he thought. He could only guess based on his understanding of human nature. He didn't get it right every time. There were times when even a liar couldn't do anything. There was silence in the car for a while. In the evening, it was completely sunny. The city gate of Douchong also appeared in front of them. There was a beautiful rainbow in the sky, reflecting the sunset. Of course, along the way, Zhang Xiaobao found several groups of people following them. They were all spies from his family. Some were disguised as people carrying poles, some were riding horses, and there was also a wedding group. They were also in a carriage and followed his carriage for a while. Seeing this group, Zhang Xiaobao was angry and amused. His family spies were too free. Why did they have to pretend to be married? It was obvious that they saw that other people's power was not as big as his family, so they couldn't check whether someone was really married. When they entered the city, they found an inn and chose a small courtyard. After the 5 of them ordered the waiter to serve them food and wine, Zhang Xiaobao said to everyone, I've decided. In the future, we will strictly investigate the expenditure of the spy department. Young master, it's not easy to investigate the expenditure. For example, I have more than 500 strings of money on me now. I don't know when I need to use it. Once I use it, I don't have any proof. For example, I can't ask people to write a certificate for me if I want to use it. Wang Gang felt that what Zhang Xiaobao said was very difficult to handle. The intelligence department had a lot of shady things to do. As such, it was impossible for them to keep track of every penny and reimburse them. They could only take the money once in a while according to the situation. When they used a lot of money, they could apply for additional reimbursement. But when the money was in their hands, the higher-ups couldn't control them. If they said that they spent 10 coins for something, it would be 10 coins. If they said that they spent 20 coins, even if they only spent 5 coins, they would keep the rest for themselves. Of course, they wouldn't do that. It was meaningless. Their families were in Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Gang's special places. They didn't lack food and clothes, and they didn't lack money. It was not worth it to be greedy for money. If they were greedy, they would easily lose their lives, and their families wouldn't have a good life. Zhang then also thought of this and said, Young master, why do you want to investigate the expenditure? Don't listen to Xiaobao. He's just joking. The people who followed us today, didn't you see a wedding group? Xiaobao means that they actually have the money to get married. Haha. Wang Wan smiled and explained to the 3 fellows. She also felt that it was very interesting. The people in the intelligence department didn't have the ability to investigate the other party's ship, but they were very good at pretending. After explaining, Wang Wan said to Zhang Xiaobao, Our people are smart to be able to come up with a wedding plan. It may not be useful in the Tang Empire, but they probably just want to practice. When they are outside, who would expect that the intelligence personnel would use such a method? It's also a kind of generosity. Who says that intelligence personnel have to live like ghosts and hide in the dark all day? Well, they can practice. If they continue to practice, they may even arrange the wedding and the wedding together. That'll be really interesting. Let's team up and trick them. Zhang Xiaobao also laughed. That day, the 5 of them had a good rest. The next morning, Wang Gang rented a big courtyard and moved all the things they brought in. He also went to buy the materials requested by Zhang Xiaobao. The five of them gathered together to make the opium pipe. The opium pipe used to smoke opium had to be well made, especially the mouth. It was not as simple as the pipe pot. The pipe pot was filled with tobacco and directly lit. It could be smoked for a long time, and a big pipe pot was more resistant to smoking than a cigarette. Smoking opium was not good. Who dared to use opium cream? Besides being able to smoke people to death, the main problem was that it could not be lit and could not be burned. He could only take a puff and light it up once. Furthermore, he could not continuously light it up as it would cause people to faint. Usually, he would only make a small amount of it and use a thin iron wire to hold it up. Then, he would burn it with an open flame. The person smoking it would use all his strength to inhale, and the smoke would enter his mouth. After taking a puff, the smoke would not be exhaled immediately. Instead, it would be held in the lungs and then slowly exhaled. Usually, after taking a puff, it would take a little while to relax. It would be better if there's someone to massage the body or legs. As for what kind of hallucination it would produce, it depended on each person's own thoughts. People who smoked opium only smoked and did not eat. Because the taste was not good, it was easy to make the taste of the opium smell something else. At the same time, they could not drink a glass of red wine like when they smoked a cigar. Smoking opium cigarettes and drinking wine was like playing with one's life. After being addicted, smoking a few puffs would make people become drifting. At the same time, they would enter a half-asleep state and not want to eat anything. They only hoped that the immortal feeling would never disappear. Therefore, many people who smoked opium were depressed and had no appetite. They were in a trance all day long. Their bodies were thin and weak, but it was not absolute. Xiaobao, what did you imagine when you took drugs? Wang Wan asked when she saw Zhang Xiaobao make a sample and then asked the three men to go to another room to do the same. Everything. Sometimes it was pure relaxation and felt very happy. It was as if there was no pressure in life. Perhaps many people take drugs because of this. It is similar to drinking to a certain state, but drinking may not be able to make you feel good every time. I have never smoked opium, nor have I taken injections. I have taken ecstasy pills and taken powder, the very pure kind. Sometimes I feel that I have infinite strength, and sometimes I think that I have gone to a different place. The most interesting thing is that when I am in a daze, I think that I am awake. Then, when I walk on the road, there is clearly nothing on the ground, but when I look at it, I see that there is money. It is like a dream, but more realistic than a dream. Most of the time, I see the director's grandfather. It is also because I see grandfather that I can easily quit after I'm addicted to drugs. Because what feels good is the nerves, but grandfather is in the depths of my soul. Zhang Xiaobao introduced the various feelings he had when he was taking drugs to Wang Wan. At the same time, he also explained why he could easily quit drugs. Oh, is it because in your subconscious, you keep telling yourself that you are an orphan, unlike other people who feel that they are living a happy life? No matter how much you imagine, you can't be sure that the children in the orphanage will be happy, right? Wang Wan thought about Zhang Xiaobao's words and felt that Zhang Xiaobao should be in such a situation. Because of dreams, sometimes one would be startled awake. When the dream was too exaggerated, even one would not believe it. Without waiting for Zhang Xiaobao to answer, Wang Wan asked again, then, when you're taking drugs, your body is also thin and your spirit is depressed. That's the reason. Anyway, it's not clear. If the subconscious can be researched and controlled, then the first application would be in the military. It's the same as sleepwalking, but it's more powerful because it can be controlled. Many people run very fast when they sleepwalk, and even climb down from more than 10 floors of rain without any training. If you ask them to wake up, they definitely won't dare. If they are forced to climb, there's a high probability that they will fall to their death. Someone has studied that when people sleepwalk, they can fully exert their body's movement limits. There is even a certain probability of breaking through the limits. If the subconscious can be trained and controlled, then wouldn't it be 100% accurate? There is a big difference between self-hypnosis and controlling the subconscious, although it looks similar. Zhang Xiaobao said with yearning. He really hoped that he could control the subconscious. Then, the speed of learning things would be faster, and fighting would definitely not be a problem. After fiddling with the black substance that looked like dried asphalt, Zhang Xiaobao continued, "When I take drugs, my body won't be in a bad state and I won't be in a depressed state. That's because I take pure drugs and I control the amount very well. Under normal circumstances, the reason why the body is in a bad state is because there is no pattern to the intake. Moreover, the purity of the drugs bought every time is different. Sometimes it is more, sometimes it is less. If you take less, you will want to continue. In the end, when you take more, you will want to take back the feeling when you take less. It's like sleeping. If you want to make up for it after sleeping less, you will end up sleeping even longer. There is no pattern, and it's not desirable. Moreover, pure drugs are expensive. As the addiction grows, you can't afford to buy them, so you can only use needles. Needles are directly used in the blood. Oh, it's mainly a problem of purity and pattern. Of course, the prerequisite is money, right? As long as you have money. Wang Wan finally understood more thoroughly, so she concluded that it was all about money. Chapter 1086. It's not all about money. It's also about escaping. You know, many stars take drugs. Some of them are very rich, but the more they take, the worse their health becomes. The main problem is that they have no faith. When they're on the stage, they think they are superior. But once they are off the stage, they find that they're actually small figures, and they're the kind of small figures that are casually played by others. No matter male or female stars, they have to accompany the guests. In that industry, no one is clean unless they just act a few times or sing a few songs and then immediately quit. But just like in the underworld, how many people can quit? They know what they are like, but they still want to pursue a kind of purity in the soul. So they choose to take drugs to numb themselves. It's that simple. In fact, there was a time when I almost fell into it. But just as I was about to sink in, I passed an orphanage, not in our country, but outside. It was a choir, and as I listened to them sing with the overtones of the church, I remembered that I used to sing with other people. Then I thought that there were still many things that I hadn't done. I couldn't let go of the things that Grandpa Dean wanted to do. If I really wanted to escape, it was better to end my life. So I survived. Isn't it amazing? Zhang Xiaobao thought about the past, looked at Wang Wan, and said with a smile. Wang Wan saw a lot from Zhang Xiaobao's smile. She nodded and said, "It seems that Tang Empire needs to make a special attitude in this area in the future. Anyone who is caught selling drugs, no matter how much he sells, will be beheaded. Anyone who knows that he is selling drugs but doesn't report him will be punished the same. Anyone who takes drugs will be killed. I really can't think of a better way. I admit that some people can quit drugs, but there are more people who can't challenge themselves. Those who can quit drugs can be said to be heroes. In the future, no one is allowed to produce drugs. It can only be used in medical treatment. This time, we will open a shop. If we meet people who used drugs before, we must catch them. If people who didn't use drugs want to try, we must catch them and let them see how we tie them up and struggle. Let's see if they dare to try again. Others can do that. I know the history. Since others can fight the Opium War, why can't we do the same? This thing was local, and the profits were high. Furthermore, it could make people unable to stop themselves. In the future, we need to plant and produce a lot of crops, and then we can set out on ships to benefit all the people of God other than the Great Tang. Amipa. Amen. Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan with a smile. You only know how to criticize other people's religions. At least their teachings are not bad, especially the rulers. When religions are used against outsiders, they're used for war. When they're used against outsiders, they're used for peace. In some cases, it is still beneficial to the people. Have you really decided to investigate the ship yourself? I'm worried that you'll be caught by them. You're a big fish. If they catch you, they'll never let you go. Even our family's intelligence system couldn't catch them. They're very powerful, Wang Wan said worriedly. She had already discussed with Zhang Xiaobao. She would be in charge of opening a shop and selling opium, while Zhang Xiaobao would follow the officials of the other party. After that, he would find the other party's ship and come back to get people to catch them. She was afraid that there would be powerful people on the other side. If Xiao Bao was caught, it would be over. Everyone knew what would happen to the Great Tang without Xiao Bao. The current economic development of the Great Tang had always been out of the control of the Great Tang people. She knew a little about it, but Xiao Bao was the most knowledgeable. If the development wasn't like this, it wouldn't matter if Xiao Bao wasn't around. But at the critical moment of development, it was the period when there were all kinds of loopholes. If Xiao Bao was gone, the system would collapse. Zhang Xiaobao smiled and said, "Back then, there were even more people who wanted to catch me. I didn't say that I was caught. The equipment was so advanced, and there was even a dog to help. I never fought back. What equipment do they have now? At the same time, I will not fight back like before. If I go with a gun, they won't be able to find me. If they really know of my existence, I will make them shut up forever. All right then, don't try to be brave. People say that a gentleman doesn't stand on a collapsing wall, but you insist on doing it yourself. Have you ever seen a leader who always puts himself in a dangerous situation?" Wang Wan said as she rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaobao. "I don't know if it's dangerous or not, but I know that the president and the prime minister, no matter how much they protect them, they will still be assassinated when it's time to die. Even a superpower can't escape this fate. Get ready, I'll go to the government office to take a look." Zhang Xiaobao got up and began to pack his things. He said that he didn't care, but when he really did it, he was very cautious. He brought his small bag, and at the same time, he also brought his gun, intending to personally investigate. As for the plan to trick the other party to come over, it could only be temporarily put on hold. A lot of energy had been wasted. Thinking of this, Zhang Xiaobao shook his head and sighed. He said, "If I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have let Ning Tian scold me so much. When I turn around, I'll deal with him personally. He actually dared to scold me. Humph. Who says it's useless? At least we know about Ning Tian and his style of setting up things in Hangzhou. I'll stay in the city and imitate his style. After the other party's people see it, they will definitely find a way to contact me. If, other than that ship, there are other forces lurking around, I can follow the clues and investigate." Wang Wan also had her own ideas. She planned to imitate Zhang Xiaobao's style while he was investigating. From there, she could establish a connection with the other party. Not only would she sell opium, but she would also bring in religious things. This way, it would be easier for the other party to take the bait. Zhang Xiaobao thought about it for a while and nodded. He said, "That's good. You also pay attention to your safety. Don't put yourself in a dangerous position. If you meet someone who might be a threat to you, just kill him directly. But this way, you won't be able to catch every drug addict you meet. Maybe the other party's people will also play the role and come over to investigate." Wang Wan helped Zhang Xiaobao tidy up his clothes. She waved her hand and said, "I won't catch him. I won't catch him for the time being. Go ahead. If you see Hu Liang and the others, ask them to cooperate with you." "I know, but where exactly are they?" Sigh. Zhang Xiaobao sighed again and turned to leave. Pengli Lake. In a patch of reeds, 3 medium-sized boats were hiding here. Hu Liang, whom Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan mentioned, was currently staying on one of the boats. There were also 7 of his brothers with him. The 8 of them were very bored as they looked at the endless reeds. They also looked at the white clouds in the sky and the various birds that occasionally flew by. However, no one spoke. After waiting for another quarter of an hour, Hu Liang yawned and walked into the cabin. There were many people in the cabin. Some were listening to music, and some were dancing with a girl who had just entered the small cabin to have sex. There were also people who were half leaning on the recliner and then leaning sideways. From time to time, they would take a puff of smoke and squint their eyes, looking like they were enjoying themselves. After Hu Yang came in, he directly found the position of a servant who specialized in lighting cigarettes for others. He ordered, "Prepare enough for 8 people. Give it to me. I'll take it out to smoke." "Yes, Steward Hu. Please wait a moment." When the servant heard Hu Liang's voice, he deftly prepared the things Hu Liang wanted and handed them over. After receiving the things, Hu Liang yawned again. His gaze blurred as he looked around the cabin. He smiled and said, "Tell Peony to come to my place tonight. It's going to be dark soon. The scenery of the sunset is really not bad." Understood. Don't worry, Steward Who. This servant will definitely tell her. The servant who was lighting cigarettes for others obediently responded. He turned around and continued to light the black thing for the impatient person who was waiting. Although the other person wasn't very happy, he didn't dare to become hostile. He knew how much power Steward Who had here. If he wasn't careful, he might not be allowed to come here in the future. When Steward Who was very powerful in his heart, came outside, he had a gloomy expression. He gave each of his 7 brothers an opium pipe. Then, they sat facing each other and lit each other's cigarettes. When the smoke came out, the 8 of them almost simultaneously slowly exhaled the smoke. They appeared to be much more energetic. After lighting a few times in a row, the 8 of them huddled together and leaned against each other. They appeared to be enjoying themselves. They let us be stewards, but they don't allow us to leave. This shows that they still don't completely trust us. How long has it been? They are too cautious. We've smoked and become addicted. We've even cried and snot. In addition, in order to be able to take a puff, we even beg them to give us some. They also use this as a threat to make us tell them what we've experienced. We've all done it, so we can be considered to have passed the test. However, they still don't allow us to leave the boat. All day long, we hide in the reeds. The news can't be spread. The spies of the Zhang family and Wang family might not be able to find this place. It's too hidden. Hu Yang seemed to be in a special state after smoking a big cigarette. He spoke to the 7 people in a delirious manner. The leader of the 8 sighed and didn't say anything. In his heart, he was as aggrieved as Hu Yang. When he first came here, he almost lost his life. As soon as he got in touch with the other party's people, he was caught and locked in a small dark room before he could even see the leader. They were locked up for 5 days. On the 6th day, the door opened and a group of people came in. They carried the 8 of them out. As they walked, they said that they had already investigated the 8 of them. They said that the 8 of them were lying. They were sent here by the Zhang family and Wang family. After everything was clear, they wanted to kill the 8 of them. At that time, if they hadn't firmly believed that the Zhang family and Wang family would never reveal their secrets, they would have been easily tricked by the other party. For example, when they were about to die, they would have begged for mercy or scolded them for going against the Tang Empire. If they had really done that, they definitely wouldn't have lived to this day. Fortunately, the 8 of them tacitly said that they were wronged. They didn't betray the organization, surrender, or become spies. Even when the knife was about to land on his neck, he didn't change his words. Only then did he manage to escape death. Then, he met the real boss and received his praise. Under the company of the boss, he drank some wine to calm his nerves. The opium pipe was also kept by the leader. At that time, the 8 of them became stewards and were in charge of everything on the ship. On the 8th day, the leader called them over again and asked them to smoke with the opium pipe. Although they knew that they would get addicted, they still pretended to smoke according to Xiaobei's instructions. However, there were many people around watching. If they pretended to smoke, there would definitely be flaws. They had no choice but to risk it and really smoke it. When it reached their stomachs, it didn't feel as good as they imagined. Instead, it was disgusting and confused. They wanted to vomit, but couldn't. They just lay there and felt that the world was spinning. When they felt a little better, the leader explained to the 8 of them that it was like this for the first time. If they didn't smoke it, they definitely wouldn't feel this way. At that time, the 8 of them were so stupid that they broke out in a cold sweat. The leader was really too cautious. He was still testing them. After that, they saw the others on the ship using up all their money. Their families couldn't take out any more money. Their snot and tears kept flowing down their faces as they begged for a mouthful. They knew that the boss would probably give them an even more difficult test. So they discussed for a while. They had to smoke. They had to smoke it. They had to smoke it into their stomachs. This way, they would know the real feeling of discomfort. If they didn't pretend well, they would lose their lives. In order to not be completely controlled by the drug in Xiaobei's mouth, the 8 of them came up with another method. That was to eat garlic. They had to eat garlic every day. Without garlic, they wouldn't be able to eat. They didn't brush their teeth. They always had the smell of garlic on their bodies. At the same time, they sewed a few cloves of garlic into their sleeves to prepare for the test that might come. Sure enough, After a few days, when normal people could get addicted to smoking and couldn't get rid of their addiction, the leaders suddenly stopped the drug supply for the 8 of them. Fortunately, the 8 of them were prepared in advance. After estimating how long others would feel uncomfortable, they cried and begged the leader to give them some cream. In the process, they crushed the garlic in their sleeves and rubbed it on their eyes. It burned and turned into snot and tears like the others. In order to win them over, the leader didn't ask them personally. Instead, he sent another person to ask them. He threatened them by not giving them anything and asked them to admit that they were spies sent by the Zhang family and Wang family. He said that if they admitted, they would give them the drugs. They would change in the future and wouldn't pursue their crimes. This was because the guns that the 8 of them sent were very good. It could be considered a meritorious service. In the end, they persevered again. The leader pretended to be a good person and reprimanded that person. He said that they had to believe in their brothers. He also explained to the 8 of them that he didn't know and that the person did it himself. Now that the test was over, the 8 of them still didn't know their specific location and weren't allowed to leave. The leader of the 8 of them recalled and said with a belly full of sorrow, "Persevere. Don't give up. Maybe the opportunity will come soon. Smoke. This time really smoke. Take a puff. There might be people watching us nearby." Chapter 1087. After removing Ning Tian's disguise, Zhang Xiaobao changed his appearance again. He combed his hair and fixed his eyes and eyebrows. He didn't change much, but people who weren't familiar with him definitely wouldn't be able to recognize him. In fact, even if Zhang Xiaobao were to compete in disguise, people wouldn't be able to recognize him even if they saw him in Wang Wan's portraits. It was just like how he and Wang were national leaders at the time. People would recognize who they were on TV. If a leader didn't have many followers and walked alone on the streets, even if people saw him, they wouldn't recognize him as a national leader. After leaving the courtyard he had bought, Zhang Xiaobao walked aimlessly on the streets of Dukang County. He hadn't thought of a specific place to start. The best place to start was probably the officials in the government. However, Zhang Xiaobao also considered that officials were usually allowed to smoke at home. The laws of the Great Tang that banned smoking had yet to be fully implemented, so smoking a little was a very normal thing. What if the organization behind the scenes wasn't in a hurry to send officials over? Since the situation was tense right now, he couldn't just grab an official and interrogate him. Once he did, he probably wouldn't be able to get anything out of him, and at the same time, the other party would also know. Since he couldn't immediately find an official, Zhang Xiaobao considered the masters of wealthy families to see if they went to specific places for entertainment. Unlike Xiuanyang, Dukang wasn't completely under martial law. The shops on both sides of the street were still open, and there was an endless stream of people hawking their wares. Zhang Xiaobao wasn't in a hurry. He strolled along one street after another, touring the county seat of Dukang County. At noon, Zhang Xiaobao ate a bowl of rice noodles at a roadside stall. He couldn't say whether it was delicious or not, but it filled his stomach. Next to the rice noodles was a tea stall. Calling it a stall wasn't accurate. It was just a large open space far from the main street. It could be considered a relatively remote place. Someone had set up a shed in the open space. Under the shed was a place where water was boiled and snacks and melon seeds were served. The people drinking tea were not under the shed, but around it. Some were sitting at the table, some were holding stools, and some were squatting there. There were also people standing under the shade of the trees. Zhang Xiaobao saw that there were quite a lot of people. He guessed that it was probably because the checks were too strict recently. Many of the jobs were not convenient, so there were a lot of idle people. Since they had nowhere else to go, the weather was hot, so they came to drink tea, play chess, and chat. In any case, tea was cheap. 1 copper coin was enough for the shop owner to drink the tea for an entire afternoon. He would not change the tea and would only add water. Even if the taste of the tea was gone, the shop owner would still add water. That was the rules. It was like drinking mutton soup in the capital. A bowl of mutton soup was not expensive, only 2 or 3 copper coins. If one couldn't afford to eat meat, one would have to eat the mutton and cut it into pieces. Sitting there, One would not eat anything dry and would only drink the soup made from mutton bones and mutton oil. Free sweet garlic and pepper, plus vinegar. One would drink the soup for the whole day. At night, one would ask for a cake, break it into pieces, soak it in the soup, and eat it together with the mutton oil. When one was full, one would have enough meat and fish. The mutton oil soup was also very nutritious. As such, the shop owner would also accept it. Zhang Xiaobao saw that the people drinking tea at the tea stall had such a posture. The shop owner rarely collected money, and most of the time, he was busy adding water for the people. He was so tired that he was sweating. Fortunately, water did not cost money. He just needed to get some dry branches to boil the water. The water was water from the river, so he could take it as exercise. Zhang Xiaobao thought about it, and also asked for a pot of tea. He chose the most expensive one and spent 5 copper coins. The shop owner also gave him a plate of fried soybeans and 2 dried fish. Feeling a few different gazes looking at him, Zhang Xiaobao straightened his chest and put on the posture of a rich man. Then he heard someone whispering under a tree stump about 6 meters away. This person is sick. I haven't seen him before. He's probably new and doesn't know that Old Huang's stall only sells one kind of tea. There's no difference between spending 1 copper coin and 5 copper coins. The only difference is that the pot is nicer and the tea bowl is newer. Everything else is the same. How much are the beans and dried fish worth? He's probably here to show off. He thinks he's rich. If he's rich, why doesn't he go to the tea house? Why would he come to the tea stall? The poorer he is, the more pretentious he is. If you go to the tea house for 5 copper coins, you won't be able to drink the cheapest one. If I were Old Huang and met someone like him, I would ask him for 10 copper coins. Hearing the voices of others, Zhang Xiaobao also admitted that it was his fault. Why did he ask for 5 copper coins of tea? He was clearly looking for trouble. It didn't feel good to be rich. So he said to Old Huang, who opened the tea stall, "Old Huang, do you still have cheap tea? I don't want beans and fish anymore. Can you give me a refund?" "Refund? No. Beans and fish are useless. If you don't want to eat them, I'll take them back." Old Huang straightforwardly refused Zhang Xiaobao's request. More people looked at him with different gazes. Zhang Xiaobao gritted his teeth and decided to go all out. No matter what, he had to get back his face. He then said to Old Huang, "I'm not sure of money. I'm just asking. Don't believe me? If you don't believe me, I'll give everyone a new cup of tea. My treat." While speaking, Zhang Xiaobao took out a large banknote with the words 50 copper coins written on it. Immediately, people around cheered. No one said that the poorer he was, the more pretentious he was. They all thanked him. The 2 people who had just whispered about him came over and sat next to him. As if they were acquaintances, they reached out and pinched a few beans from the plate in front of him. They threw them into their mouths and chewed. It sounded very delicious. "Little brother, you're not a local, right?" a man in his 30s asked kindly after eating Zhang Xiaobao's beans. Zhang Xiaobao didn't touch the beans himself. He didn't want to drink tea and eat beans. He didn't want to have a chemical reaction in his body to create flammable gas. It would be very uncomfortable to eat them. After hearing the question, Zhang Xiaobao nodded shyly. He was very different from his previous bold attitude when he asked people to drink tea. "I just came here yesterday. I was originally from Hangzhou." When Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he deliberately added a bit of Hangzhou's local accent. "What are you doing here?" The man didn't regard Zhang Xiaobao as an outsider and directly asked him why he was here. Zhang Xiaobao smiled shyly again and said, "Look at the lake. Everyone says that the scenery of Pengli Lake is good, so I came to have a look." "You came at the wrong time. If it were in the past, it would be fine to come now. Now that something has happened, the investigation is very strict. If you're not a local, you will be specially questioned if you want to take a boat. The boat on the lake is also watched by other boats." "What a pity." The man shook his head and looked like he felt sorry for Zhang Xiaobao. He pinched a few more beans and threw them into his mouth to chew. Zhang Xiaobao simply pushed the plate in front of the man and showed a regretful expression. He said, "I heard that the children of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family were almost blown up by someone. I didn't know before I came here. I just want to look at the lake. If others are watching, then so be it. What other interesting places are there in the county? No, they used to be, but now there is no more. The most interesting place is the place where you drink tea. Although the tea sold in the tea house is expensive, it is not easy to do business now. Also, let me tell you, if you want to find someone to do something or ask for information, this is the best place. Other places can't compare. As the man spoke, he picked out the beans from the plate and ate them first. He probably intended to save the good beans for last. Although they were the same in his stomach, the taste was different. Zhang Xiaobao finally understood why there were so many people at the tea stall. It turned out that it was not only to chat, but also to take jobs. It was also a good place, just like the labor market. After thinking for a while, Zhang Xiaobao pushed the dried fish over and asked, "Brother, don't you know how to spend money?" "What do you mean by spend money?" "Oh, you said that if you want to find someone to do something, of course you have to pay. If you don't pay, who will do it for you? If you really want to find someone to do it, don't negotiate the price and don't plan to ask for the full price. You can ask someone else if they can give you a lower price, but it's useless. As long as one person says that they can give you a lower price, others can only ask for more." The man understood the meaning of Zhang Xiaobao's question and patiently explained the rules. Perhaps he felt that he had drunk Zhang Xiaobao's tea and eaten something, so he kindly added, "If you really want to find someone to do something for you, we can give you the cheapest price." Who asked you to be pleasing to the eye? Zhang Xiaobao felt that the beans and fish were more pleasing to the eye, so he nodded to show that he understood and asked, "What if I ask for information? For example, where is the fun place? How do you calculate the money? You've already paid, inquired about things, and invited people to drink tea. You are generous and invited all of us at once. If you want to ask something, you can ask. If I don't know, I will ask someone to come and tell you." The man pointed to his tea and said to Zhang Xiaobao with a smile. Zhang Xiaobao also laughed and drank a cup of unknown tea, so that's how it is. "Actually, I don't have anything to ask. I just want to take a night boat to see the scenery of Pengli Lake at night. I think it will be good. Big brother, you can tell me about the fun things in the county. Just say whatever you want. I don't have to know anything. Just treat it as a normal chat. Since I'm staying here, why don't we talk? Old Huang, if there's anything to eat, you can help deliver it to whoever wants to eat." Zhang Xiaobao took out another banknote, but immediately took it back and took out another one. This time, he took out the right one. The large denomination was 100 coins. The small denomination he took out was 100 strings of coins. This kind of money was usually not taken out in small stalls. It was easy to be scolded. It was like taking out $100 to buy something that was worth a few $100s. It was purely playing with people. Zhang Xiaobao was very fast. The person who spoke did not see the 100 strings of coins clearly. Even if he saw it, he probably would not recognize it. Banknotes with more than 50 strings of coins were generally not circulated among ordinary people. When they heard that someone was treating them to food, there were cheers and thanks again. Old Huang was also glowing. He could make a lot of money today. The person who spoke to Zhang Xiaobao looked at the few things on the table, and then looked at Zhang Xiaobao. After looking back and forth for a long time, he finally spoke. "I didn't expect that I would be wrong. Brother, you do have some money. Thank you. If we want to talk about the county, then we have to talk about a few rich families. They have more things to do than ordinary people. For example, the Liang family in the east of the county is not ordinary." As he spoke, Zhang Xiaobao drank his tea and listened. He talked about which big family held a banquet, what deserted house was haunted, someone cried in the middle of the night, etc. It was like listening to a fairy tale. He was not the only one who spoke. A few people came over and helped to fill in the gaps. When someone was tired, someone immediately took over and continued to speak. It seemed that they were sharing their resources. After listening for an hour, Zhang Xiaobao finally heard what he wanted to know. He nodded to the person who had just finished telling the story of finding a shoe in the well and said, "Thank you. It's really interesting. It's not early. I'll go to the water and have a look. It will be dark when I reach the place, so I can take a boat." After he finished speaking, Zhang Xiaobao got up and left. He didn't even ask for the 11 copper coins that Huang found for him. He left in a carefree manner, and the person who drank his tea, ate his food, and told him a story from today onwards had another story. Perhaps it could develop into a different version of the story. After leaving the tea stall, Zhang Xiaobao walked for half an hour. He turned around and did not go out of the city. Instead, he went to the east of the county. When he was listening to the story, he heard a person say that the Su family in the east was also a big family. In the past, they had a lot of fields and business. However, in the past 6 months, almost half of the business had been closed and a lot of fields had been sold. Moreover, he often heard the head of the Su family say crazy things, saying that he had become an immortal or something. Many people thought that he had been bewitched. However, Zhang Xiaobao believed that the head of the Su family was not bewitched. Instead, he smoked a lot of cigarettes. Smoking a lot of cigarettes required money. After smoking too much, he began to hallucinate. Since that was the case, he should go and see if the Su family had run out of cigarettes and who provided them. By the time he found the Su family's courtyard, the sky was still not dark. Zhang Xiaobao could only find a nearby inn and ask for a room. He also asked the waiter to send him some food and wine. He ate while waiting. He drank a lot of tea and his stomach was already empty. When night fell, Zhang Xiaobao also finished eating. He lay down with his clothes on and went to sleep. At this time, the people in the courtyard probably had not eaten dinner, let alone other entertainment. After about 2 hours passed, Zhang Xiaobao finally got up, pushed open the door, and left the inn. He had bet 5 days' worth of money, and he didn't know if he would be able to get anything tonight. If he couldn't, he would have to come back. What there was no more space left. The wall outside the Su family's courtyard was not short. It was as tall as a person. To be precise, it was more than 2 meters tall. There was also a small eave above to prevent people from jumping over the wall. However, this wall had no effect on Zhang Xiaobao. He found a corner and saw that there was no one around. He jumped and directly jumped over. There was almost no movement when he landed. In the courtyard, Zhang Xiaobao did not care if there was a light in the next room. If there was, it would only be the servants of the Su family. The head of the family would not live in the front room. Following the path in the courtyard, Zhang Xiaobao easily found the room where the head of the Su family lived. There was no one patrolling the road, let alone a guard every 3 steps. The lights in the owner's house were on, and there was a faint sound coming from inside, but it was too far away to be heard clearly. Xiaobao flipped over and put his ear to the roof to listen, but he still couldn't hear clearly. It seemed that the owner's house was better built. After coming down from the corner of the house, Zhang Xiaobao finally chose to listen to the window. He hid in the shadows and listened with his ears. He did not wet the window with his saliva and wet a hole to look inside. It was not because Zhang Xiaobao was afraid of being discovered. If there was a hole in a paper window, most people would think that it was caused by something. The main thing was that the window was made of glass. Zhang Xiaobao did not bring a glass knife. If he wanted to look, he would have to cut a hole in the glass and then pull up the curtains. If he really did that, unless the person was a fool, they would definitely find that the glass was not normal. Zhang Xiaobao listened. There was someone talking inside. To be precise, it was singing. He did not know who wrote the poem. It was sung by a woman. There was also a man's voice occasionally echoing. There was no end to it. There was one song after another. Zhang Xiaobao had never heard of any of them before. He did not know who wrote so many lousy poems. When Zhang Xiaobao was about to fall asleep, the singing inside finally stopped. It turned into humming sounds again. Zhang Xiaobao could tell that the woman was pretending. After about 3 minutes, the humming sounds became sharp. Then, there was only the sound of panting. It seemed that the long battle was over. Zhang Xiaobao cursed in his heart. Why was it like the Japanese in the movies he watched before? There was a total of 10 minutes in the movie. In the beginning, it was a mess, using hands and other things. In the end, there was only 30 seconds left. It was left for the male lead in the movie. Before he could watch it to his heart's content, everything was over. Could it be that there was a Japanese spy in the house who cooperated with the locals? It did not seem like it. Judging from the sounds, it was a local. Zhang Xiaobao, who was using this method to wake himself up, was about to think about other things when the sound inside changed. Master, 60% of the family property has been sold. There is only 40% left. It is not easy to sell it. Even if we sell it, we will not be able to get a good price. We are not afraid of the officials in the county who are strict. The main thing is that there are outsiders who are constantly looking for people to ask. You have to think of a solution. A woman's voice. It was the woman who sang 2 songs just now. Even if we can't sell it, we still have to sell it. We're going to leave soon. Who are we going to leave this place for? Others think that my family is bankrupt and say that I am possessed by a ghost. In fact, what do they know? Not only did my wealth not decrease, but it has more than doubled. If they were not strict, I would not be in a hurry to sell it. You don't have to worry about the officials. When the time comes, the ones who will leave with me will not only be you all. There will also be officials in the county. We cannot stay in Tang Dynasty anymore. If we continue to stay here, they might come looking for us. Another man's voice rang out. Zhang Xiaobao understood why it had only been 3 minutes. From the sound of the voice, the man was not young. He was clearly lacking in confidence. Perhaps he was also a heavy smoker. At the same time, he understood that the other party's fixed assets had decreased. It was not because they bought the big tobacco cream, but because they wanted to leave Tang Dynasty. As for whether they wanted to go to Japan or somewhere else, he did not know. Master, let me light a cigarette for you. This cigarette is good stuff, but it is a pity that there are few people who can recognize it. It is also expensive. Ordinary people can't afford to smoke it even if they want to. Master, do you think that the Zhang family and Wang family will not let us go after we leave Tang Dynasty after they find out? Right now, Xuanyang is still sealed. I am really worried that the people there who know about us will sell us out. If it really doesn't work, we could just give up on the rest of the family property. If it is too late and they catch us, won't they skin us alive? The sound of a match being struck could be heard in the room, followed by the woman speaking. The sound of smoking and the slow exhalation of enjoyment could be heard again, following which the old man, or rather, the old man, spoke. Don't be afraid. If they caught us, we would have been caught long ago. We haven't decided on the route yet. Tomorrow, I will ask again and see how to get there. We will try our best to avoid others. Furthermore, this house cannot be sold, and the servants in the house cannot be dismissed in order to prevent others from finding out. In the last few days, they'll make even more moves. In the future, our good days will follow. Rather than being an ordinary rich man in the Great Tang, it's better to be a rich man outside. Don't you think so? Yes. Master said that it will definitely be so. However, I'm still afraid that the Zhang family and Wang family will not be satisfied. Back then, that Wang Wan killed all the way to Tufan. What if we run outside and she kills us too? The woman seemed to be still afraid. Kill? Kill who? It is easy for her to kill her way to Tufan, but can she kill her way to a place thousands of li away? It will take us half a year to travel there. She won't do anything else but kill us? After a few days, they won't have the time to care about us. They can just worry about themselves. Everyone says that Zhang Xiaobao is good at scheming and nothing can escape his eyes. Let's see how he plans to scheme this time. This is what they mean by, there's always someone better than you. His ability is far from that of the deity. It is a pity that the deity hasn't fully recovered. Otherwise, she would be able to destroy the imperial palace of Tang Dynasty with a single slap. I will leave early tomorrow morning and will only be back in 3 days. Try to sell as much as you can, even if it is cheaper. When I return, I might have to leave. You should prepare the things that I will need along the way. The old man seemed to be more confident when he spoke. It was probably the effect of the medicine that made him more spirited for a short period of time. After that, they started to talk about other things. Zhang Xiaobao listened for a while and felt that there was no need for him to listen anymore. He found a corner and climbed out. He returned to the inn and laid down to rest. As for what the Su family said about the involvement of the government officials, Zhang Xiaobao didn't care. It wasn't as easy to enter the government office as it was outside. Under normal circumstances, the head of the local government office had to live in the back room, where there were people patrolling. Also, if one entered the government office, they wouldn't be able to hear the voices of others. There was also a separate room in the house. The government offices were built like this because they were afraid that others would eavesdrop. It wasn't difficult to enter, but if he really entered, Would he have to open the door and enter the inner room? If he was discovered and came out, the other party would be afraid. This line might be cut off. He decided to follow the Su family's old man tomorrow and see where he was going. He was probably going to the hidden cruise ship that even the spy system couldn't find. The next morning, when the sun was about to rise, Zhang Xiaobao got up and asked the waiter to prepare some food. He hurriedly finished eating and left. When he arrived outside the Su family's courtyard, Zhang Xiaobao was worried again. The Su family didn't only have a front door, there was also a back door. Where did the other party leave from? It was reasonable to say that the Su family's old man was doing things secretly, so he should have left through the back door. However, the other party felt that he wasn't in danger, so it didn't matter if he left through the front door. Just as Zhang Xiaobao was hesitating, the front door opened. A carriage came out and headed west. It kept going west until it reached Poyang Lake. Zhang Xiaobao immediately followed it out. After a while, he realized that something was wrong. The carriage only had one driver and no guards. At the same time, there was a curtain blocking the carriage. Normally, if the Su family's head went out, there would be a servant following him. Could it be that there was only one driver? Moreover, since they weren't afraid of others, why did they block the curtain so early in the morning? When the sun shone in the morning, it was comfortable. As long as it was a normal person, they would usually open the curtain and look at the morning scenery outside. More importantly, Zhang Xiaobao believed that since the other party knew that the investigation was strict and there were people from his family questioning him, it was impossible for him to directly go to the place he wanted to go. With the caution of the person behind this, how could he let the people who came in contact with him go? What a joke. With this thought, Zhang Xiaobao jumped across the street and quickened his pace. He arrived at the back of the Su family's courtyard. When he was still 100 meters away, he saw an old man come out from the back. He was alone and wore a bamboo hat on his head. He looked like he was afraid of the morning sun. His legs were still nimble as he walked towards the east. Zhang Xiaobao stood in place and wondered. The Su family's courtyard was very close to the east. Why did the old man go out from the east? Was he going to take a long detour? With doubts in his heart, Zhang Xiaobao began to follow the old man. Not only did he have to follow the old man, but he also had to guard against whether someone was also watching the old man in the dark. Of course, he was not watching the old man, but seeing if anyone was following the old man. It was a very common method, and Zhang Xiaobao was very familiar with it. He had always used it before. When he was not sure whether someone was following him, he would arrange for someone to follow him. Moving forward carefully, Zhang Xiaobao tried to make himself look normal. From time to time, he would stop to look at the door of the shop that had just opened for business. Occasionally, he would go in and take a look. Rushi and Old Man Zhao were about to leave the city gate. Sure enough, Zhang Xiaobao found that someone was staring at them. It was a stall owner. This person's eyes were not looking at the things on the stall, but always looking at others. The stall sold the 4 treasures of the study. It was pure stupidity. Who would spread out the paper in the morning when the dew was not completely gone and wait for it to get wet? Zhang Xiaobao pretended to go out and walked in front of the stall owner. At the same time, he muttered, "It's easy to get wet if you sell paper in the morning. They're really fools." His voice was not loud, just enough for the stall owner to hear. Originally, the stall owner was still suspicious of everyone, but when he heard Zhang Xiaobao's voice, he forgot to suspect Zhang Xiaobao. Instead, he looked down at his stall and found that he had indeed made a mistake. When he came back to his senses and saw that he could not change the stall owner, he could only brace himself and set it up. When he stared at others again, he had already classified Zhang Xiaobao as a normal person and no longer thought about it. Zhang Xiaobao, on the other hand, continued to follow. He did not think that the stall owner would suspect him. That was how human psychology was. When one thought that everyone had their suspicions, if someone suddenly approached and took the initiative to speak, then this person would be the easiest to ignore. Of course, if it were Zhang Xiaobao setting up the stall, then it would be a different matter. After following him for half an hour, the old man exited the city gates. Zhang Xiaobao followed him out as well. Outside the city was a mountain, which was quite a distance away. After exiting the city, there was an official road. After circling around, there was no outer ring. If they continued, they would go up the mountain. There were also woodsmen going up the mountain to gather firewood, and there were also people going around this place in the morning. The terrain of Jiangzhou and the provinces around Poyang Lake was like this. Mount Lu was also in Jiangzhou, but on the other side, it was closer to Xuanyang. It was surrounded by mountains on 3 sides, a river on one side, and a lake in the middle. It was not bad to travel here, but following people was not a good idea. This was because the old man really wanted to go up the mountain, which was different from what Zhang Xiaobao thought. Seeing the old man walking up the mountain, Zhang Xiaobao was about to continue following him, but suddenly changed his route and walked to the side. At the same time, he cursed inwardly. The people of that organization were too disgusting. Did they have to be so cautious? There was already a stall owner in front, and behind him was a woodcutter. There was nothing wrong with the woodcutter. What was wrong was that the axe was too new. It looked like it had not been used at all. With one look, one could tell that it had just been bought. Zhang Xiaobao definitely did not believe that the woodcutter was a real woodcutter. It was too fake. Which woodcutter would change a new axe for no reason? Fine, let's just say that your old axe was broken and you changed it. But why was your rope old? Moreover, there was a sailor's knot on the rope that had not been untied. It was clearly used on ships. Who would go up the mountain to gather firewood and tie a sailor's knot on the rope? The biggest loophole was that the woodcutter did not bend his back. People who often gathered firewood had to carry firewood. No matter how they usually took care of it, there would be traces left. Therefore, Zhang Xiaobao believed that the other party was someone arranged by the organization to sabotage him. He absolutely could not follow the original route. After walking over, Zhang Xiaobao sped up and ran up the mountain from the side. He had to follow. Since he could not take the original route, he could only go through the forest. Zhang Xiaobao tried his best to control his footsteps so as not to make too much noise. He finally saw the old man from the Su family again. He also saw the woodcutter. The man was casually looking for a tree to live in. He waved his axe and chopped it down, but he didn't use much strength. He just happened to be standing on the path that the old man took to go up the mountain. He was probably still worried and continued to monitor to see if anyone was following behind. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head and continued to walk in the forest. At the same time, he observed the old man and maintained a relatively parallel posture. After walking for another quarter of an hour, just when Zhang Xiaobao was worried that the old man would die of exhaustion, the old man met up with the other people. The 3 people waited on the mountain, and there was also a slide pole on the side. We finally arrived. I'm so tired. You guys are too careful. The old man took 2 deep breaths, sat on the pole, and said to the 3 of them, "Don't worry, I'll be back soon." However, none of the 3 people responded. 2 of them picked up their poles one after the other and sped up their pace. The other person stood in place and looked around. Zhang Xiaobao began to admire the other party. He was a good opponent. No wonder the spies at home could not find him. This time, if he did not follow, he estimated that he would not know until the other party took action. After sighing, Zhang Xiaobao also quickened his pace. Now he was not worried because there was the sound of the slide pole. There was a person sitting on it. When the 2 people walked, the slide pole trembled and inevitably made sound. As they walked, an hour passed. Zhang Xiaobao took out a bottle of water from his bag and took a sip. After adjusting his breathing, he cursed under his breath and continued to follow the group. After another quarter of an hour, the people carrying the slide pole entered the fork in the road. If Zhang Xiaobao directly walked forward, he would be able to pass through the small path. Seeing that the other people were going down the mountain, he could only continue to shuttle through the forest and go down the mountain. It was not easy to reach the foot of the mountain. When Zhang Xiaobao thought that the people carrying the slide pole would continue to carry the old man and take another detour, a cart stopped at the foot of the mountain. It was a 2-wheeled cart loaded with firewood. Next to it were 2 people dressed as woodcutters. He did not know when the old man was blindfolded. It was not the kind of blindfold that used a cloth, but a hood. The slide pole stopped. The 2 people carrying the slide pole put down the old man and turned to go up the mountain. The old man was led to the cart. One of them lifted the firewood at the top of the cart, revealing a coffin-like box underneath. The old man was put inside the box. Then the two of them, one in front and one behind, one pulling and one pushing, walked towards the southwest road. At this time, it was not a forest. Next to them was a terraced field. There were two people standing in the field who were obviously not farmers. Damn it! Who do you do that? Zhang Xiaobao was dumbfounded. He could not continue to follow them. If he continued, the two people who were obviously not farmers would definitely suspect why he came here and went out through the forest. At this time, there was no cover at all. How could he hide? The leader of the opposite organization was too. Zhang Xiaobao didn't know how to describe it. Seeing the cart gradually disappear into the distance, Zhang Xiaobao smacked his lips and took out a bottle of water from his bag. As he slowly drank, he thought of a solution. He really did not expect that the other party was so cautious. If it were him, he estimated that he could not do more. Of course, if it were him, he would not use such an idea. It was too tiring. He could think of a better way, such as digging a tunnel under the house. There was no need to run around. Indeed, he could not follow them now. But the more the communication, the easier it was to leave a loophole. For example, if he wanted to kill someone, he could directly control the other party and ask them where the next place was. Then he would go to the next place and chase again. He did not believe that he could not catch up. Of course, he could not do it now. The two people in the terraced field were standing very far away. When they could see each other, there was also a chance to spread the news after someone was attacked, such as setting off fireworks or something. At that time, the two people pushing the cart would also set off fireworks and commit suicide at the same time. Before they committed suicide, they would kill the old man, and the clues would be lost. Zhang Xiaobao drank a few mouthfuls of water and muttered, "Okay, I have seen it today. You are good. When I see you, I will tell you that you are far from being good at this. I almost got fooled by you. Humph." After muttering, Zhang Xiaobao once again shuttled through the forest and walked back. When he was out of the sight of the two people in the terraced field, Zhang Xiaobao did not follow them in a big circle. Instead, he ran directly in the direction of the lake. When he reached the lake, he looked around and saw that there was no one around. He took out his binoculars to observe the road. There were a total of several paths down from the terrace field. He remembered all of them. When he looked at the lake again, he finally found a small boat in the grass by the lake. It was very far away, but he could vaguely see it. It was really that the person who rowed the boat was too careless. Since they were hiding, why did they hide in the same place every time? The grass was too obvious. Zhang Xiaobao was relieved when he saw the boat. He already knew what the other party was doing. It was just running around the mountain, but the old man did not know where the boat was. He also did not know whether the boat was in the river or in the lake. At the same time, the people who wanted to follow them would not be able to follow them. They would suspect that the old man had entered the mountain and thus lose their judgment. After all, there were many mountains and terraced fields. If the other party was hiding in the mountains, it would be troublesome to find them. When the time came, they would invest a lot of manpower and material resources, but in the end, they would get nothing. He believed that they would be very depressed. Zhang Xiaobao calculated for a moment and found a bush to enter. He opened his backpack and took out a water mirror and diving clothes, as well as a balloon. He blew up the balloon and took out 2 iron blocks from his backpack. He tied them to his waist and buckled them. Then he took out a bamboo tube and put rubber on his backpack before diving into the water. As soon as he entered the water, Zhang Xiaobao sank straight down. Although there was a balloon, if he did not swim, he would not float up. The iron blocks were heavy enough. He was able to make such preparations because he heard that the other party was on the boat. Zhang Xiaobao, who was wearing the water mirror, swam towards the boat. He also pulled open the bamboo tube, which had a length of 3 meters. He gradually approached the boat underwater. When Zhang Xiaobao saw a faint shadow on the surface of the water, he stopped in the bushes by the lake. He was very close to the boat, only about 10 meters away. The bamboo pipe was only slightly above the surface of the water, hidden by the bushes. Not long after, the shadow of the boat moved. Zhang Xiaobao guessed that the other party had already boarded the boat. As for hearing the sound, it was absolutely impossible. Now his ears were plugged with earplugs, and his nose was also clipped with a nose clip. After a few breaths, he saw the shadow of the boat moving away from the water. Zhang Xiaobao quickly followed. He also kept a certain distance. Occasionally, he would shorten the bamboo tube. Wei Wei peeked out to observe. The speed of the boat was not slow. Zhang Xiaobao could only expend more energy. After following for a long time, Zhang Xiaobao was already tired. The boat finally stopped. In front of the boat, another big boat appeared. The boat gradually approached. Zhang Xiaobao finally did not dare to peek out. He could only take out the periscope and secretly watch. He watched as the old man, who was still wearing the hood, was taken to the big boat. Zhang Xiaobao began to swim with the ship again. This time, it didn't take too long. After about a quarter of an hour, a vast expanse of reeds appeared in front of him. The big boat stopped, and a small boat came out of the reed and handed the old man over. The small boat moved towards the reed. Zhang Xiaobao gritted his teeth and had no choice but to continue chasing. In his heart, he thought that if it was someone else, they would have died of exhaustion. Even if it was such a fun thing, swimming underwater was still pressurizing. The water pressure of 3 meters was still pressurizing. After waiting for another 15 minutes, Zhang Xiaobao cursed in his heart. "Fuck your mother." He put away the bamboo tube and sank with all his strength. This was because he saw the big boat. Not only did he see the big boat, but he also saw more than 10 people jump down for the big boat hidden in the reed. These people directly dived down. 2 of them were actually wearing diving goggles. He did not see the workmanship of the goggles, but Zhang Xiaobao definitely knew what the other party's purpose was. It was to guard against people like him. They used something like a bamboo tube to follow behind the boat. It should be the last line of defense. Zhang Xiaobao suspected that the other party had nothing to do all day and specially thought about this. Otherwise, how could they be on guard again and again? Well, he really wronged the intelligence personnel. Thinking about this in his heart, Zhang Xiaobao sank more than 20 meters. When he looked up, there was only a little bit of light above, and it was not obvious. The rest was pitch black. The people who jumped down from the boat were just as Zhang Xiaobao had guessed. They were afraid that someone would follow them in the water. Even if this situation was obviously impossible, they still seriously carried out the task of searching. However, they did not dive more than 20 meters, because if they dived this far, even if there was someone, they would not be able to see it. It was too dark. Zhang Xiaobao swam forward with all his strength. At this time, he did not intend to give up. He was prepared to tangle with the other party to the end. It would be best if he could find out some information. He wanted to swim out of the surveillance range of the people on the boat and then think of a way. After swimming for a minute, Zhang Xiaobao put the balloon to his mouth. After taking a breath, he continued to move forward. He did not even exhale directly. After taking a breath, he blew into the balloon again. He was worried that the other party was so cautious that they would notice if a series of bubbles suddenly appeared on the surface of the water. Even though the more than 10 people who jumped down knew that there was a person below them who had passed through a deeper part of the water, they were still so relaxed and comfortable. It was so unbelievable. The more than 10 people went up and down in the water a few times. One after another, they poked their heads out of the water. After taking a breath, a few people stayed behind to observe the water surface. The others sank down again. This happened 5 times. Each time, it took about a minute. Finally, one of them said, "Okay, let's go back. There is no one in the water. Otherwise, we would have suffocated to death. I don't believe that anyone can hold their breath for so long. Even Xiao Bei, who is very good at swimming, can't do it." The more than 10 people swam to the side of the boat and were pulled up by the people above. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao also found that the air in the balloon did not feel comfortable when it entered his lungs. He removed the 2 iron blocks from his waist, hugged the balloon, and moved his feet continuously. His body quickly rose up. When he saw that he had reached the top, he stopped for a while to observe. When he saw that there was no one above, he poked his head out. He breathed in the air in the balloon while panting. He was out of breath just now. After a few breaths, Zhang Xiaobao finally felt a little better. He cursed Damn, you guys are good, but you don't know that there is another person called Zhang Xiaobao. Chapter 1088. Zhang Xiaobao now admired the other party from the bottom of his heart, but along the way, he had a sense of accomplishment. In such a situation, the other party did not leave him behind. It seemed that the other party still needed to be strengthened. After catching his breath, Zhang Xiaobao blew up the balloon again and hung it on his body. This way, he did not have to step on water. He was exhausted from swimming all the way. The main reason was that the boat was rowing fast, so he had to follow suit. If the boat was rowing slowly, he would not be afraid of swimming for a few more hours. Zhang Xiaobao, who had almost no strength, relied on the buoyancy of the balloon to float on the water. He also took out the food in his bag and ate it to replenish his strength. As he ate, he looked at the sky. It was already afternoon, so Zhang Xiaobao did not plan to stick to the boat now. He would wait until night, so he could have a good rest. He chewed bit by bit, trying his best to chew the food in his mouth. At the same time, he swallowed more saliva so that the food would first be decomposed by his saliva. In this way, the absorption rate of the body would increase because the food that was eaten into the stomach was decomposed by the stomach acid. The stomach acid did not directly penetrate, but decomposed bit by bit from the outside. The most intuitive way was to eat cold noodles and swallow them directly without chewing. After an hour, he would spit them out. He would find that the cold noodles had become thinner, and after chewing them into pieces, the surface area of the food that came into contact with the stomach acid would also be larger. After eating, Zhang Xiaobao took out a small bottle of white wine. He looked at the direction of the wind, opened the lid, and took a sip. He immediately screwed the lid back to prevent the smell of the wine from floating over if the wind suddenly changed direction. Although Zhang Xiaobao had already guessed that the people who boarded the boat would not only smoke on the boat, but also drink and look for women on the boat. However, Zhang Xiaobao did not want any possible mistakes to appear. Sometimes, details determine success or failure. If the other party could have made a more detailed arrangement, he would not have followed them. Unfortunately, the other party had left a loophole. The biggest loophole was that the other party did not expect that there would be people who could stay underwater for a long time. With something like a balloon, people could dive. That was what Zhang Xiaobao thought, but he did not consider it. His expectations for the other party were too high. Who would be able to think of such a problem when there were so many layers of defenses? After taking a sip of the wine, Zhang Xiaobao felt much more comfortable and not so cold anymore. Even though it was summer, one couldn't swim in water without direct sunlight. Just now, he had been staying under the water. Now that he had entered the reed thicket, it would not be so cold if it was outside. The sun was blocked by the thicket of reeds, and there were also silt and other things under the thicket, which were distributed in patches or patches. Moreover, it was almost evening. Once the sky turned dark, the temperature of the water would drop rapidly. Zhang Xiaobao had to adjust his body to its best condition before that happened. Otherwise, he could only rush forward with his gun. This was not what he wanted. He had a gun, and he was sure that once he used it, there would be no enemy in front of him. However, he could not be sure that the other party would stupidly rush towards him and not jump into the water to escape. There were many people on the boat, and it was not the same boat. If he really opened fire, the other party would easily scatter and jump into the water. At that time, who would he hit? To chase or not to chase? Which one should he chase? He did not know the other party, and he did not know who was the leader. Perhaps there were more than two leaders, and it would be difficult to catch them. Thinking about this, Zhang Xiaobao closed his eyes and began to sleep. He planned to take a nap and listen to the news on the boat when the sky turned dark. As for leaving after listening to the news, he did not have to worry about leaving. Pengli Lake was indeed very big, but the other party would definitely go around other people's boats. If he did not choose the same route and swam in a straight line, he would encounter fishing boats at night. After going up, he could pay the fishermen and take the boat back. He did not even need to reveal his identity. While Zhang Xiaobao was waiting, the sky gradually darkened and the water became colder. When the last ray of light from the sun disappeared, the stars and the moon which should also be the sun, lit up. Zhang Xiaobao began to approach the big boat. Previously, he came out from below, but now he could only go around from above. Otherwise, he would have to go back down because there were reeds in the way. Below the reeds was mud. Now is not the same as during the day. Zhang Xiaobao estimated that if he went down, it would be very easy for his head to stick into the mud that was fixed by the roots of the reeds. After going around and around, Zhang Xiaobao even chased away a water snake. Finally, he heard the faint sound of a song. At such a close distance, the sound was not loud. Zhang Xiaobao was very impressed by the other party. It seemed that the boat was equipped with soundproofing and silencing. Otherwise, the sound would not be so quiet. Zhang Xiaobao found the nearest big boat and went up. There were no lanterns on the boat, but Zhang Xiaobao could still see a few figures at the bow of the boat with the help of the light from the stars and the moon. Now he was not afraid of others seeing him. The water was dark, and he was wearing a wet suit. Only his head was exposed, unless the other party had night vision goggles or a pair of cat and mouse faces. Zhang Xiaobao slowly approached until he was under the bow of the boat. The people on the boat still did not see him. They probably had nothing to do and specially stare at the water at night to play. Moreover, Zhang Xiaobao came from the side of the boat. After reaching the side of the boat, Zhang Xiaobao did not take out the receiver to listen. He guessed that he could not hear the sound inside. Now, he could only listen to what the people on the bow of the boat were saying. "Big brother, what should we do? They're probably going to do something soon. I don't know what they are doing. They said that as long as it is poured into the lake, people who drink the water will get sick. If it is poured into the river, people who drink the river water will also feel uncomfortable. Moreover, the fish will die in groups." A voice reached Zhang Xiaobao's ears. Hearing this, Zhang Xiaobao was stunned. Weren't they together? Why did it sound like the people on the bow were worried about what the other party was going to do? And for what he heard, the other party wanted to pour something into the Yangtze River or Pengli Lake. What kind of thing could affect such a big lake, let alone the Yangtze River? The speed and volume of the water were not a joke. Ordinary people would not be able to see it after entering. Even if they poured mercury into it, it would be useless. It would be gone soon. Could it be that there was something more powerful? Nuclear pollution? What a joke. If anyone could get that thing, the Tang Empire would be rich. No, the Tang Empire would be finished. If they could get that thing and know how to use it and purify it, they could even make an atomic bomb. Would they need to play all kinds of tricks? They would be invincible. Zhang Xiaobao thought it was funny. Then he heard another person say, "I can't do anything. They won't let us leave. It seems like they're worried about us. They're very cautious. They might even take care of us in the end. I think they're not taking care of us now because they are afraid of disappointing their subordinates. Or maybe they want to treat us like a cat playing with a mouse. In short, I don't think they have good intentions. We can't think of anything now. If we jump, only 2 people will be able to swim out. You and old 8. The others won't be able to. Our swimming skills are far worse. Moreover, they will chase us from behind. We don't even know where we are now. How can we find help? Sigh. We listened to Xiaobei's orders and came in, but we can't provide any useful help to Xiaobei. It's so frustrating." When Zhang Xiaobao heard this, he immediately understood who the other party was. It was definitely Hu Liang and the others who had been captured by Xiaobei. They had successfully entered the other party's system, but the other party did not completely trust them and still did not allow them to leave. They even received the same treatment as the old man from the Su family. They did not know the specific location. Seeing that they were on the same side, Zhang Xiaobao felt more at ease. He continued to listen, wanting to hear what they had to say. He was very satisfied. At least it meant that the 8 of them did not betray him. After this matter was over, he would reward them well. "Boss, if there is no other way, let's fight it out with them. We can't let them take the thing into the lake or the Yangtze River." "Old 5, you only know how to talk nonsense. Fight? What do we have to fight? Even if all 8 of us die here, it won't affect them in the slightest. If we could succeed in this fight, even if I had to give up my life, I would have done it long ago. Look at how guarded they are against us. A few days ago, we weren't even allowed to stay a little longer at the bow of the boat. Now, I reckon that they're more or less done with their preparations, or perhaps they believe that we won't betray them, so they've relaxed their guard against us. But that's not necessarily the case. Perhaps they're also watching us. Keep your voice down. What if there's someone under the water? Right now, we can only watch and wait. We can only hope that Xiaobei's group can move faster and find this place. When the time comes, we can coordinate with them from the inside and outside. When Zhang Xiaobao heard them say that there was someone under the water, he was given a fright. He was afraid that they really would poke their heads out and look down. If that happened, he would be exposed. Don't count on Xiaobei's group either. Didn't you hear the people that came over say that when Xiaobei's group was in Xuanyang City, they were almost successfully ambushed? In the end, it was that boat loaded with gunpowder that got into the water. Otherwise, there would definitely have been people out of luck. Fortunately, Xiaobei's group managed to avoid it. Oh, the heavens protect us. Pengli Lake is truly too big, and Xiaobei's group doesn't know that their leader is on the boat. Moreover, they're hiding in the reed marsh. That's not necessarily true. Xiaobei's group might also be investigating the reed marsh in Pengli Lake, but it's too big and hard to find. And there's also that place on the mountain. It's surrounded by mountains, so even if the Zhang family and Wang family have a lot of people, they won't be able to investigate too much, and they won't be able to search the mountain. I suddenly thought of a good method that has a very high chance of letting the Zhang family and Wang family discover us. But once we use this method, we can forget about continuing to live. It definitely won't let us go. What method? If I die, I die. For the great Tang, I'll accept it. In another 20 years, I'll still be a good man. Moreover, we won't be the ones to die. Not a single one of them will have a good ending, including those wealthy clans who clearly know that what they're doing is detrimental to the great Tang, but still support them. My method is to set the reed marsh ablaze. When the time comes, there will definitely be a very thick plume of smoke rising. Whether it's them or the surrounding fishermen and pleasure boats that discover it, they'll all spread the news. I'm confident that the Zhang family and Wang family have placed quite a few intelligence agents in Jiangzhou. They can't possibly let go of this information. After asking around, they'll definitely dispatch a large number of soldiers. Don't they have soldiers patrolling the lake? It'll be fine if they come. Even if they kill us, I won't regret it. Third brother, it's a good idea. In fact, if we really set the reed marsh ablaze, there's no need for the Zhang family and Wang family to come. We'll be burned to death along with them. None of us will be able to escape. Let's use this method as our last resort. Zhang Xiaobao listened from below and nodded inwardly. This was indeed a good method. Although the reeds were still green, there were still reeds from last year. Although there weren't many of them, they could still be set ablaze. Once they were set ablaze, the green reeds would also burn. In addition, there was a lot of silt below. If the reeds were set ablaze, the methane inside would also be burned out. Once the silt dried, it would crack, and the methane would naturally come out. Coupled with the wind, no one would be able to escape. Just suffocation alone was enough to kill. At the same time, Zhang Xiaobao had a better impression of these 8 people. At the critical moment, there were still people who would block the bullet holes. However, they were not needed anymore. He had come himself. The people above did not know that they had obtained Zhang Xiaobao's approval. They were still mustering their courage to perish together with the enemy. Of course, they did not want to die, so the boss said, "It's not yet time. It's better to live. We also have families. Although we're dead, the Zhang family and Wang family will treat our families well. It's better to be treated like that than to live. Wait a little longer. We have to believe in Xiaobei and the others. We have to believe in the Zhang family and the Wang family. We don't think that the Zhang family and Wang family can't beat them, especially Xiaobao and Cuckoo. They're like gods. Perhaps they've already found this place, but they haven't made a move yet. Yes, they're the most powerful. No one can avoid them. Big brother, that's impossible. If they found this place, how could they not make a move? Right now, they can't wait to find everyone and kill them all. In any case, I don't believe it. We can only risk our lives. For the great Tang. For the great Tang, the other 4 people said together. There are still 3 people who did not come over. They were responsible for keeping watch. Come quickly. We're about to die. Xiaobao Cuckoo, where are you? If we die, we must tell our families. We're dying for the great Tang. We're heroes. Why haven't you found this place and captured them all? Because I just arrived, Zhang Xiaobao said in his mind. Chapter 1089. The people on the boat were both looking forward to the arrival of the Zhang family and the Wang family, but they also felt that there was no hope. All of them were clearly afraid of death, but at the last moment, they had decided to ignite the reed marsh. With this mentality, their voices grew quieter and quieter, their mood gradually sinking. Occasionally, some of them would even sigh. Zhang Xiaobao stood below the boat, feeling admiration for these people. Calmly facing death and generously sacrificing their lives for justice were easy to say, but extremely difficult to do. At the very least, Hu Yang and his 8 sworn brothers could not do such a thing. They very much wanted to live and see their families, but when faced with the most important choice in life, they chose to die together. At this moment, the radiance of humanity illuminated Zhang Xiaobao's heart. Zhang Xiaobao was keenly aware that although these people were speaking softly and sighing, it was precisely because of this state that they had chosen to act at the last moment. When a person had already lost all hope, they would stake everything on a single throw. Just like some of the murderers in his and Wang Wan's time, murderers were usually bullied by others. Every time they were bullied, they had to endure it. When they finally realized that no matter what, they would not be able to do it, they would have to take a different path. Thus, Zhang Xiaobao was worried that when he returned to find his family, his 8 brothers would not be able to hold themselves back and act first. Although the results were good, and his family would definitely discover the situation here, the price of 8 people willing to sacrifice their lives for the great Tang was simply too great. After some consideration, Zhang Xiaobao decided to reveal his identity and put his 8 brothers at ease. However, he had to think a good plan. Otherwise, if the people above suddenly discovered him, it would be easy for them to cry out in alarm. If that was the case, he could only choose to take out his gun and act, thus alerting the enemy and allowing them to escape. He would not be able to grasp anything useful, and he would not even be able to see the face of the enemy's leader. After thinking for a while, Zhang Xiaobao finally made his move. Diving back into the water, under the cover of darkness, he left the boat and ran to a place where there was no one. He took out a small knife and began to cut the reeds. He cut them one by one and tied them all together. It didn't take too long for a mat made of reeds to appear. Zhang Xiaobao didn't expect the green reed cushion to be very comfortable to sit on, and it was impossible for him to sell it. He didn't want to use it now. He placed the cushion on top of the mud and climbed up. This way, he didn't have to worry about sinking into the mud. He then took out a silk thread from his backpack. The silk thread was very strong and was a common item in the special forces. If a few strands of silk were entangled together, it could support the weight of a person. This was because the craftsmanship was not good enough. If it were him, one strand would be enough. At the same time, the silk thread could also be used to sew up wounds. When there was an external injury, using this kind of thread would not help even if there were bacteria. It was better than directly dying from excessive bleeding. The third function was to tie up the enemy and kill people. It could be used as a normal rope or to strangle the enemy's neck. If the neck was strangled by the silk thread, not only would it be impossible to make a sound from a mouth, but it would also not be as easy to resist as if it was strangled by a rope. The thread was too thin, and the hand of the person who was strangled would not be able to exert any strength at all. Zhang Xiaobao wanted to use another function, and that was fishing. Catching fish in the water in the reed marsh with his bare hands required luck. He might not be able to catch it in a short time, and he couldn't wait. Soon, Zhang Xiaobao hooked the fishing line. The hook was connected to the line. It was a needle used to sew wounds. Of course, this needle could also be used as a weapon to stab into the spinal cord of the enemy's neck. One needle could directly destroy a person's life system. The prerequisite was that the needle had to be able to pierce into the body and accurately. He hung the earthworm that he found in the mud, tied a small bead that emitted a night light not far from the hook, threw it into the water, and began to wait patiently. With the attraction of the fluorescent column, the fish would naturally come over. After a while, Zhang Xiaobao felt a pulling force from the line. He pulled the line fiercely, and a fish that weighed 1 catty was pulled out by Zhang Xiaobao. He smashed the fish's head twice, and the fish died directly. Zhang Xiaobao took out the rice seedling symbol from his bag, firmly tied the fish with the line, cut the line, and swam towards the previous boat. When he was about 10 meters away from the boat, Xiaobao threw the fish out. The fish flew in an arc and landed in front of the boat, making splashing sounds as it hit the water. The sound startled several people at the bow, and they suddenly stopped talking. One by one, they vigilantly looked in the direction of the sound. Zhang Xiaobao dived into the water and swam over to fish the fish out of the water. Once again, he came to a place where no one could see and repeated the action just now. When the fish fell into the water, under the moonlight and the reflection of the water, several people at the bow found the village of the fish. The fish is tired of staying in the water, so it jumped up to take a breath. Lao Wu said with a prescient look. The others also thought so and calmed down. Zhang Xiaobao dived over again and repeated the action just now. The splashing sound was still the same, but this time it was closer to the bow, making the people on the bow startled again. This happened several times, and each time it was closer than the previous time. The people at the bow began to become interested, and their eyes stared at the place where the fish might fall into the water. If it jumps again, maybe it will jump to the boat. Just catch it and eat it, Lao Wu said with a smile. The others also thought it was fun. It was late at night, and the fish was not idle. They'd been bored for many days, so it was interesting to see if the fish had a bad idea and jumped up. When Xiaobao threw the fish again, they finally realized that something was wrong. The fish didn't seem to have jumped out from the water. At least, it didn't jump out from the water in front of them. It seemed to have come from somewhere else. Fish can fly. I heard that there are several kinds of fish in the sea that can fly out of the water, but I haven't seen any in the lake. Let's see where it came from. Lao Wu still said heartlessly. Hu Yang, who was relatively smart, realized that something was wrong. He whispered to the others, "Pay attention. There's a situation. Look again." After Hu Yang's reminder, several people became alert and stared at the water suspiciously. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao swam over again and reached out to catch the fish. The fish was still faintly floating on the water, and Hu Liang and the others' eyes instantly widened. They saw a vague shadow under the water. If it were not for the previous few times when fish fell into the water, they would definitely cry out in surprise when they suddenly saw the shadow. However, this time, they watched attentively, wanted to know what the shadow was. At the same time, they even softened their breathing and stared without blinking. Zhang Xiaobao dove down, and finally, his figure could not be seen on the water surface. At the same time, the fish was gone. What was that? Lao Wu shivered and asked softly. The others shook their heads, indicating that they did not know, but their eyes widened even more. Just as they were still looking at the water and paying attention to the place where the fish might have flown out, the fish appeared in front of them under the moonlight. However, it did not fall into the water, but flew towards where they were. With a bang, the fish landed on the deck. Several people looked at each other, and no one made a sound. Their eyes swept over the fish, and then looked at the place where the fish seemed to have flown from. They found that it flew out from a place under the boat that could not be seen, and they were all very surprised. "Let me see, you guys don't move. There's probably a problem," Hu Liang whispered, slowly moved 2 steps, squatted down, and looked down at the fish. At this time, he could finally see that something was tied to the fish. He was usually very smart, but the first thing he thought of was who tied something to the fish, what was the purpose, and why did they throw it on the boat. After thinking for a while, he immediately became excited because he had already guessed a little, but he was still not sure. If it was someone from the organization on the boat, why would they spend so much effort to play with people? Then, it seemed that only the omnipotent Zhang family and Wang family's intelligence system could do such a thing. Holding back the surprise and expectation in his heart, Hu Yang reached out and picked up the fish. He looked at it under the moonlight and saw a piece of iron with the word "Bao" written in the middle of it. Seeing this word, even if he was mentally prepared, he couldn't help but take a deep breath. Hiss! Suddenly, he used one hand to cover his mouth, and his eyes widened. Old 8, how is it? What fish? Old 5's voice came. When Hu Liang Fong came over to cover his mouth, he gasped for breath. He pulled the tag off the fish and cut the fish. After all, he couldn't untie the string, and he didn't want to let the tag stay on the fish. If someone came over and saw it, it would be exposed. After a few breaths, Hu Liang calmed himself down and looked at the side of the boat that couldn't be seen. He took the fish and turned back to the few people and said to them, I'll tell you something. Now shut up. No matter what I say, you're not allowed to make any noise. Otherwise, we will kill someone or we will alert the enemy. When they heard Hu Liang's words, they were shocked. Under the moonlight, they observed Hu Liang's expression. Seeing Hu Liang's serious expression, they nodded one after another. They stretched out their hands and covered their mouths one by one. They also took deep breaths to let themselves be in a nervous state. Seeing that the brothers were ready, Hu Liang said, Let me tell you a piece of good news. The people from Zhang family and Wang family have found us. The fish just now had their mark on it. As expected, the expressions of the few people tensed up, but because they were already prepared, they were still able to control themselves. Hu Liang nodded and said, There is another piece of news that is even more shocking, so the few people covered their mouths and nodded at the same time, meaning that they understood. Just say it. We can handle it. The person who came was none other than Zhang Xiaobao. Hu Liang dragged out the last 3 words. Ugh! Lao Wu almost couldn't catch his breath, and it was stuck in his throat. It was so painful that he covered his mouth with one hand and pinched his throat with the other. His face was red, just like when you sneezed but didn't let the air out. Instead, you held in your mouth. The other people's expressions were also different. They looked at Hu Liang in disbelief. Was it possible? Hu Liang didn't continue to speak this time. Instead, he picked up the mark on the fish, put it in his palm, and spread it out for everyone to see. The people who were blocking the moonlight moved aside. When the light shone on the mark, the clear pattern of the rice seedlings and the word treasure in the middle appeared in front of their eyes. The few people were stunned for a moment. After a while, Lao Wu released the hand that was covering his mouth and gasped for breath. He was surprised and tried to suppress his voice as he said, Zhang Xiaobao came in person? He is really awesome. How'd he find us? Lao Wu said the word advanced that was spread by Zhang Xiaobao. The surprise on his face didn't change. Indeed, when we came here, we were blindfolded. Then, we changed many times before we got on the boat. We also saw how the others looked when they got on the boat. It was so troublesome. How did Xiao Bao follow them? Most importantly, when the boat carried people here, many people jumped into the water to look for people who were following them underwater. Today, during the day, there was indeed a person who came. I remember that his surname was Su. Could it be that Xiao Bao followed him here? That's too awesome. It seems that Xiao Bao felt that his family spies were always useless, so he personally took action. I have learned something new. In the past, I always heard people say that the two of them are so awesome. Anything that they personally do, there's nothing that they can't do. Today, I finally know what it means to have a good reputation. Lao Wu also nodded. He was surprised and happy. No matter how Zhang Xiaobao came, he definitely came. Then, did that mean that they didn't have to set the reed marsh on fire and die? Lao Qi also said at this time, Xiao Bao should be in the water now, right? Don't just talk by yourself. The two of you go and look at him. The water is very cold now. Is he hungry? Is that why he asked us to find a way to get him something to eat? Hu Yang glanced at Lao Qi and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. How can he be hungry? He can eat the fish. If he is thirsty, there is the water in the lake. This water is fresh water, unlike the seawater in the sea, which can't be drunk. I will go and look at him. You guys stay here and don't move. After saying that, Hu Yang glanced at the entrance of the cabin. Some of his brothers were standing guard there. They were fine for the time being, so he was relieved. He squatted down and moved to the side of the boat where the fish flew out from. Lao Wu, who was behind him, didn't forget to chime in. That's right. Lao Qi, you are wrong. Fish can be eaten raw. Their training includes eating raw things. How can Xiaobao not eat raw fish? I don't believe it. Xiaobao is the best. Otherwise, he wouldn't have found us. Huyang did not care about what Xiaobao said. He came to the side of the boat and poked his head out to look down. Xiaobao, on the other hand, was looking up. He had done everything he could. If the other party was still not calm enough, then there was nothing he could do. Huyang had already told himself not to be nervous, but when he saw the face looking up at him, he still gasped in surprise. Then he asked softly, "Are you young Master Xiaobao?" "I am Huyang." "I know who you are. I am Zhang Xiaobao. Today, I just came here with a person surnamed Su. I heard you guys talking about setting the reed marshes on fire. I was afraid that you guys wouldn't be able to take it and would take action in advance. I gave you guys a heads up. Don't do anything. Wait for me. I will come back with you guys. Early tomorrow morning, I promise that we will be there. Look at the signal. There will be a hot air balloon floating in the sky. When the time comes, don't worry about the camouflage on the boat. Pretend that nothing happened. Wait for the hot air balloon to release a dazzling light. Then, you guys will jump into the water together. Got it?" Zhang Xiaobao didn't have much time to exchange pleasantries with others. He directly explained his plan. Hu Yang nodded repeatedly. "Got it. Young Master Xiaobao, why you can still swim back? Why don't we think of a way to let you rest?" When he asked this question, he knew that it was useless. Zhang Xiaobao couldn't possibly rest. Moreover, it would be very difficult for them to find a place for Zhang Xiaobao to rest. Sure enough, Zhang Xiaobao shook his head and said, "No need. I will leave immediately. You guys must remember that you're not allowed to set the reed marshes on fire." After saying this, Zhang Xiaobao's head sank and disappeared from Hu Yang's sight. Hu Yang stared at the place where Zhang Xiaobao disappeared for a while. He didn't see which direction Zhang Xiaobao had left in. He only knew that he had left, so he stood up again and returned to his brothers with a happy expression. "Did you see that? Old 8, did Zhang Xiaobao transform into a fish-like body?" Old 5 saw Hu Liang come over and whispered to him, "Transform what?" "Transform into a fish. Why don't you say he turned into a bird? Birds can fly, but fish can only swim." Hu Yang was in a good mood, so he also joked. "Hee, birds are fine as long as they can come over. That's great. We don't have to worry about dying now." Did he bring soldiers? Oh, he definitely didn't. If he did, they would have already surrounded this place. Why would he be so careful like now? Sigh. I didn't expect that the person who came to save us would be Xiaobao. He is so precious, but he personally came. Just based on his ability to come, I won't even frown if he wants me to die in the future. Old 5 happily said and also guaranteed that he would face death with equanimity. "If you don't believe me, you won't frown." Old 7 said, "Why wouldn't I believe it? Because my eyes were closed the entire time. I wouldn't know when I died." Old 5 retorted. Zhang Xiaobao had no time to think about how Hu Liang and the others felt. He was still swimming in the water. He had to find a boat quickly and then let the people on the boat take him back so that he could arrange for people to help him. There were not many people fishing in the lake at night. Even if there were, they generally wanted to catch prawns. In the past, it was not bad to have someone fishing for prawns at night because they needed light to catch prawns at night. The light from the ignition could illuminate a large area, but there were also many insects. Generally, the cold light had the best effect. However, the technology in the past was not good enough to get so many fluorescent stones. Fluorescent stones were not very valuable now. They could not be used to light up the area, but it was absolutely no problem to use them to lure prawns. Put them in a net, then sink them into the water, or put them in a basket of prawns. Put something inside that could emit a smell of oil, and the prawns would be attracted. Therefore, if people wanted prawns at night, they would come out. However, who would go so far? There were many better places beside the reed marsh. It was not like Zhang Xiaobao's time now. The lake was almost empty, not to mention the fish and prawns inside. Right now, whether it was Poyang Lake or Dongting Lake, both were very good. If there was a strong wind, the waves would not be worse than the sea. If it was not calm at night, even boats would not dare to go there. Zhang Xiaobao now wanted to see how his luck was. He hoped that he could meet a fishing boat. Otherwise, he could only swim back. His body could bear it, but once he went back, he would not be able to recover for 2 or 3 days. In the night, Zhang Xiaobao still swam towards the shore in a straight line. As for whether he could meet a boat on the way, it depended on whether the boat was good enough. When he came here, Zhang Xiaobao swam for a long time, but if he went back in a straight line, it would definitely not take so much time. This was because Zhang Xiaobao knew that the other party took a long detour to get there. Otherwise, it would be easy to be discovered. Therefore, Zhang Xiaobao adjusted his physical state and breathing. His speed was not the fastest, but it was not slow either. He moved forward towards the dark place in front of him. After swimming for about half an hour, Zhang Xiaobao was about to stop. When he took out something from his backpack to eat and recover his strength, a faint flame appeared in front of him. After seeing the flame, Zhang Xiaobao gave up the idea of eating. He estimated that it would take about a quarter of an hour to swim there. So he took a deep breath and swam towards the flame with all his strength regardless of the consumption of his physical strength. Su Shan was in a good mood tonight. Since it was dark until now, he had already caught 20 pounds of prawns, and the smallest one was 1.5 inches long. When dawn came, he should be able to get 50 pounds of prawns. Then he would row the boat to the shore and send it to the children in the school. 2 days ago, there were children who said that they wanted to eat braised prawns. However, the 2 days before and yesterday, he also needed to live, so he did not catch many prawns. Today, he finally had some free time and could give the children a good meal. As for the other spices, they would be prepared by the people who were also responsible for providing food for the children in the school. He could not bear all the food for all the children in the school, so he could only send food back every few days. Other times, other people would be responsible for it. Just like him, when they were busy with their daily needs, they would free up time to find food for the children. At noon tomorrow, all the children in the school, including the 2 in his family, would be able to eat fragrant and fresh prawns. Every time he saw the smiles on the children's faces, he would be very happy. When he was young, he didn't do much in the morning. Not to mention that there were people who provided all kinds of things. He could not even find anyone to teach him how to read. Children these days could be called happy. Of course, at that time, he did not have the Zhang family and the Wang family, nor did he have Xiaobao and Cuckoo, who were officials in the county. It was the 2 of them who proposed the morning activities, and then the whole Tang Empire immediately followed suit and built schools one after another. When the children grew up and learned, the Tang Empire would stand tall between the heavens and the earth, and the small countries around it would not be able to shake it. Although a lot of mosquitoes were attracted by the lanterns at night, he had applied medicine on his body, so he was not afraid. Occasionally, a few would fly over, and even if they bit him, it would be fine. Su Shan thought to himself. The net that was put into the water did not seem to be catching the prawns, but rather hope. Thinking of this, he could not help but hum a little song that he thought was very pleasant to hear. It was a song that he had heard outside the brothel. The girls sang it well, and the scholars sang along as well. Learned, Humph, who is not learned now. His 2 children were also learned. During the examination, they could rank in the top 10 in the school. The people in the future would definitely be learned, but the most capable ones could only be Xiaobao and Cuckoo. They were the top civil and military scholars. Come, all the prawns come, you are helping the children of the Tang Empire. Huh, what is that on the water in the distance? It was sinking and floating. If not for his good eyesight, he would not have noticed it. It was coming towards his boat. Fish? It did not look like it. Such a big fish swimming in the water at night? A water monster? It should be. Oh my God. Is the water monster coming to eat people? He was a good person, and it could not eat him. If he was not a good person, he could not smoothly come out to catch prawns. Now, the county was strict. If he did not have the certificate to provide things to the school, he would not be allowed to come out in the same boat at night. When Su Shan was thinking about the good thing, he found that there was something in the water that was quickly approaching the boat. He could not help but worry. He thought over and over again that he was a good person and that water monsters should not eat good people. After waiting for the undulating thing to continue to approach for a while, Su Shan finally realized that he could not wait foolishly. He had to run. So he put away the net and the cage as fast as he could, ran to the back of the boat, and rowed the oar to run in the other direction. Zhang Xiaobao increased his speed to the maximum. As he was getting closer, he could even see the outline of the person's face under the lantern. Just as he was feeling happy, he suddenly found that the person began to put away the things and was about to leave. Zhang Xiaobao immediately understood why the person did that. Maybe the person did not see him clearly and thought that he was a dangerous creature. The idea of leaving was right, but if he left, what should he do? He had already used all his strength. Should he float, adjust, and then swim back? In a hurry, Zhang Xiaobao did not care too much. He shouted toward that direction, "Wait, don't go. Wait. If I wait, you'll catch up with me. If I don't go, do you think I will still be alive?" When Su Shan heard the voice, the first thing that came to his mind was this. So he rowed the boat harder and shouted at Zhang Xiaobao, "I'm not a monster. Stop. Give me a ride." Zhang Xiaobao saw that the other party had no intention of stopping, so he shouted again. "How can a water monster say that he is a water monster? Give you a ride? If I give you a ride, you will kill me." Su Shan shouted back again. "You stop. Your water monster can speak human language? If I am a real water monster, I will let you see it. Are you stupid? The water monster will attack you in the water. I am a human. Only humans can't stay in the water all the time. I am swimming. Okay, I will tell you my identity. I am Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao from the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family of Sanshui County." Zhang Xiaobao was really helpless. It was not easy to find a boat, but the person rowing it was actually timid and stupid. Who knows if a water monster like you can attack me in the water? You are Xiaobao. Even if you're a cuckoo, I will not stop. Don't lie to me. I am very smart. Su Shan continued to shout. His hands were not idle, and the oar was being rowed by him. Zhang Xiaobao was about to cry. Fortunately, the speed of the boat was not as fast as his speed of swimming. This was a fishing boat, not a boat race. Otherwise, he would have no hope at all. As he continued chasing, Zhang Xiaobao shouted, "I'm really Zhang Xiaobao. I'm here to find out who's causing trouble. If you don't stop now and delay Great Tang's matters, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. If you stop now, you'll just be cheated and eaten by the water monster. Choose between Great Tang's luck and your life." Hearing this shout, Su Shan paused and hesitated. He knew that he was indeed investigating the people who were causing trouble for Tang recently. Those people even wanted to kill Xiao Bei and the other children. Maybe it was really the people from the Zhang family and Wang family. But why would Xiao Bao come out personally? Choice. Tang's luck and my life. If I have to choose, how should I choose? If it is true, I will regret it for the rest of my life if I delay the other party's matter. If it is false, I will lose my life. Su Shan began to think, and his hand movements slowed down. A matter of stopping the boat to get people out had become a matter of life and death between Tang and himself. Zhang Xiaobao saw that he slowed down and continued. "I am right? Think about it carefully. Which water monster knows about the affairs of the human world? Then the water monster will become a spirit. Why would it care about eating you, right? Yes, you are really not a water monster?" Su Shan asked again. "No, definitely not. I am a human. I am Zhang Xiaobao." Zhang Xiaobao clenched his teeth and said, "Then why did you come out personally? Tell me, what is your sister's name?" Su Shan continued to ask. "Zhang Bei. If I don't come out, how can I find an enemy? My subordinates are not doing their job well." Zhang Xiaobao could only answer. Otherwise, they would not have stopped the boat. "Then you are really Xiaobao. Then tell me again. 5 plus 6 plus 3 plus 2 plus 7. What is it?" Let me tell you, Xiaobao is very good at calculating. He will definitely be able to calculate it. Su Shan thought hard and thought of a profound mathematical problem. At least the water monster should not be able to solve it. "It is 23. Zhang Xiaobao was so angry that he almost sank down. "Is it 23? Why am I 22? Su Shan did not understand it himself just now. "It is 23, really. Look, 5 plus 6 is 11, 3 is 14, and 2 is 16. 16 plus 7 is 23, right? Yes, that's right. Then you are Xiao Bao. Haha, Xiao Bao can actually meet me at night? God, you're too good to me. Xiaobao, I believe you. Tell me, have you made any progress on the matter you're investigating? Yes, I found their place and am rushing back. I will call someone to deal with them together. Then you've really worked hard. Xiaobao, let me tell you, the two children in my family admire you the most. Really, I also admire you. I don't think much of others. Thank you. I will work harder in the future. Xiaobao, where are they? Can your people rush over? Yes, they're in a reed marsh. There's a reed marsh. I remember the place. Xiaobao, you are so good. How did you find them? Can you stop the boat and let me go up? I will tell you while resting. You are exhausting me. The boat began to move towards the shore. Zhang Xiaobao had changed into his original clothes and was now wearing a cloth that gave off an unknown smell. He was holding a chip bowl in his hand, and inside it was boiling hot ginger water. Lil Bao, I really didn't expect it to be you at first. I'm sorry. If I had known, I would have gone to pick you up. I wouldn't have let you swim over. If you blame me, I'll accept it. I'm a person. Zhang Xiaobao drank the water while Su Shan was apologizing to Zhang Xiaobao while he was rowing the boat. Zhang Xiaobao listened to Su Shan helplessly. He had already said many times that he did not blame him, but he still apologized. After a few words, he changed the topic. Zhang Xiaobao did not say that he did not need to apologize. He was exhausted just now. Not only did he have to swim, but he also had to shout. If it was a normal person, he would have drowned. Now that he had time to rest, Zhang Xiaobao began to think about how to deal with the situation there. The reed marsh was a good place to hide. Not only was it hidden, but the reed marsh in the lake was also very large. Even if he specially arranged for people to investigate, they would not be able to find it under normal circumstances. Moreover, the lake was not very strict. It was not that his family did not do their best, but the terrain of the entire Jiangzhou was too complicated. Not only was there a lake, but it was also surrounded by mountains, especially Mount Lu. It should be the focus of his family's investigation. If the enemy was hiding in Mount Lu, it would be very difficult to find them. Who would guess that the enemy was right under their nose? Now that they had found the location, did it mean that the enemy was there? What if the enemy had a hiding place elsewhere? Once this place was cleaned up, the people elsewhere would notice and move away. It seemed that they had to take action, but the area affected had to be small. It was best not to let others notice. They also could not send out too many hot air balloons in the sky. They had to pretend that they were just passing by. There was also a fleet that was not in the lake. There were only a few armed ships at Dongting Lake. They were probably targeted by the enemy, so they could not be mobilized. As such, the only way was to send people over and take action on the water and underwater at the same time to not give the enemy a chance to escape. As for the ships used, a fishing boat like Su Shan's would be good. Zhang Xiaobao had a plan in mind. He interrupted Su Shan, who was still apologizing, and asked, Su Shan, let me ask you something. How many fishing boats do you know? Xiaobao, there are many. Look at how big the lake is. There are many people who live by the lake. It's just that the inspection is very strict recently. Ordinary boats can't come out easily. If they want to come out, they are not allowed to come out alone. They have to listen to the arrangements of your people and temporarily form a team with other boats. I'm only allowed to come out alone because I am delivering things to the school. I can guarantee that. Your people can rest assured. Xiaobao, what happened before? After Su Shan answered a few words, he began to apologize again. Then do you know who can be trusted? We need to use your fishing boats to send people to the place. Otherwise, if armed ships and a large number of hot air balloons appear, the enemy hiding elsewhere may notice and escape. Zhang Xiaobao did not wait for Su Shan to finish apologizing and asked again. Su Shan's hand movements slowed down. He looked up at the sky and rolled his eyes. He seemed to be thinking about who he knew as a fisherman and who he didn't. After thinking for a while, he nodded and said, there are many differences. Anyway, if they are not reliable, don't look for them. I know a lot of people. How many people do you want to send? I will call a boat for you. Just say that you need their help to catch a school of big fish. Whether they believe it or not, just let them come out first. No, if it is a school of fish, if you don't follow them in the lake, no one will believe that you can find it. You can change the reason. Say that the Zhang family and the Wang family want to eat a certain kind of fish. That kind of fish is rare in the lake. You can ask them to catch that kind of fish. As for my people, each ship can hold 10 people. If we squeeze together, we can squeeze 13 people without being discovered. You can get 60 ships. I estimate that it should be enough for 700 people. Zhang Xiaobao came up with a new excuse and said the number of boats he needed. Okay, 60 boats. Your people need to find a place first. After we come out, we will pick you up there. Don't let the bad guys find you. Su Shan agreed without hesitation. It seemed that he was quite popular among the fishermen. He was able to find 60 boats just like that. Zhang Xiaobao naturally agreed. He discussed with Su Shan where to get on the boats. Then he talked with Su Shan about the situation of his family, especially about his children. It was not that Zhang Xiaobao wanted to chat. He did not want to hear. Su Shan continued to apologize. He had to change the topic. Otherwise, his ears would ring. With the boats, Zhang Xiaobao returned quickly. In short sprints, the speed of a fishing boat was not as fast as his swimming speed. But for long distances, he could not maintain the same speed. When it was 1:45 in the morning, Zhang Xiaobao stood on the shore and found a family with a horse. Su Shan knew them. He knocked on the door and asked Su Shan to be his guarantor. At the same time, he left money as a deposit. Zhang Xiaobao rode his horse to Wang Wan's courtyard. He did not dare to borrow a horse from the local government. Once his identity was exposed, there would be people in the local government. It was estimated that from the county magistrate to the registrar, no one was a good person. They were all frightened by the tricks of the other party. For example, the appearance of the shadow of the immortal and other deceptive things. In addition, smoking made people hallucinate. A little psychological suggestion could achieve a good effect. Ignorance. This was ignorance. But it had nothing to do with knowledge. Not to mention the people now, even the officials of that time were still fooled. Zhang Xiaobao also used this method to deceive people. He played it better than the other party. The other party probably played a long distance, but he played a short distance. It was like magic. After this time, when he was done, no one in the local government would be safe, including the family surnamed Su. It was fine to take drugs, and it was fine to be deceived, but the crime of going against the Tang Empire could not be avoided, no matter what the reason was. Zhang Xiaobao made up his mind and sped up. Su Shan did not rest, and went to find people he knew. He told them one by one that they would set off the boat tomorrow morning. He said that the mission was given by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Those who were found by him readily agreed. No one refused. They were not only giving him face, but also willing to help Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan improve their diet. If Su Shan did not use the name of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, but the name of the local government, saying that the county magistrate wanted to eat whatever fish, the result would definitely not be like this. Those who were found by him would definitely blame him for finding them. Even if they had to go fishing in the end, they would curse in their hearts. They could not treat the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan the same way. Chapter 1090. Yes, the other party is indeed not ordinary. Fortunately, you did it yourself. Compared to the shock in Wang Gang's heart, Wang Wan appeared to be calm. She only acknowledged Zhang Xiaobao's ability, but didn't say anything else. Wang Wan was very clear about Zhang Xiaobao's tracking and anti-tracking abilities. Unless there were no clues, otherwise, no matter how the other party hid, it would be useless. Otherwise, they wouldn't have mobilized so many police officers and still couldn't do anything to him. Now, Zhang Xiaobao was even more powerful than he was at that time. At that time, he didn't have the same conditions as now. He began to exercise from a young age, and his strength, flexibility, and reaction were far better than before. The other party's little tricks could fool others, but they were useless against Zhang Xiaobao or herself. If it were her, she could also track the other party, but because it was a woman's body, it would be more tiring. Fortunately, we came. Otherwise, we would have lost 8 heroes. I would rather they never be martyrs. Tomorrow's arrangement is like this. Zhang Xiaobao didn't continue to talk about the tracking. It was normal for him to know the person. It would be a problem if he couldn't find a person. As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, Wang Wan added from time to time. Wang Gang listened, but didn't say anything. He didn't know what to say. He was still shocked by his young master's ability. He secretly told himself that he had to work harder. His ability was far inferior to his young master's. If it were him, even if he followed the other party, he would be discovered or drowned in the water. Of course, the biggest possibility was that he couldn't even get the information that his young master had before. By the time Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan decided on the specific action plan, the sky was already bright. Zhang Xiaobao, who didn't sleep the whole night, didn't sleep. It was the same when he got on the boat. He got up and made a hot and sour soup to replenish his strength. The hot soup would be very comfortable to drink. Wang Gang really wanted to accept the task of making soup, but he knew that the young master would not like the soup he made, even though he had learned a little about it in the braised food shop. When Zhang Xiaobao went to the kitchen to make soup, Wang Gang said to Wang Wan with a face full of admiration, "Miss Cuckoo, the young master is really amazing." Wang Wan, who was no longer worried, smiled and said, "It's okay. I thought that Xiao Bao would come back last night or this morning, saying that he had found the other party. I didn't expect that he would only get home in the middle of the night. He always doesn't go out to do things. He's become stupid." Wang Gang was speechless. He knew that the young lady was being modest on purpose, but he had to admit that she had the right to be modest. "Little Gang, you have to work harder in the future. Otherwise, every time you encounter something, you have to ask Xiao Bao and me to do it ourselves. We're too busy. When this matter is over, the people in your intelligence department will be punished. Xiao Bao, and I don't care how great the difficulties you encounter are. If you don't achieve the desired result, then it's a failure. If Xiao Bao can't find the person, then we can understand that you can't find the person. But if Xiao Bao finds the person, then your ability will be questioned. Maybe you think that the Tang Empire is too stable, so you don't work hard enough. In this matter, no one actually infiltrated the other party. Is there a failure more terrible than this? If it was Xiao Bao, he would have taken action at the beginning. By now, he would have driven the other party's leader out of his position and become the leader himself. Do you believe it?" Wang Wan said to Wang Gang, not hiding her dissatisfaction at all. Wang Gang lowered his head. His chin was almost touching his chest. When he heard the young lady's question, he nodded and said, "Yes, I absolutely believe that the young master will do better. In the past, I believed in the young masters and your ability in economy and military. Although I know that the training curriculum was written by you and the young master, I thought that you two were just armchair strategists. But after the braised food store incident in Hangzhou, I realized how big the gap is. You and young master's acting was too similar. It was as if you were really ordinary people who opened a store. Zhang Nan, Zhang Yu, and Hong Yi were all suspicious of each other and plotting against each other. But no one thought that everything we did was under the control of the two bosses. At that time, I thought that you were stupid and stubborn. You always didn't do things according to my plan. In fact, you two did much better than me. If you really did things according to my plan, you wouldn't have caught Ning Tian. Even if you were lucky, you could have found Ning Tian. It would have taken at least a month. There wasn't enough time. Now that you and the young master have arrived in Dukang, it only took you 2 days to finish what our department failed to do. I don't have the face to see others." Wang Gang was telling the truth. At the same time, he was very angry. He was angry at himself and the other people in his intelligence department. They were usually noisy and thought that they were the spies of the Zhang and Wang families. They had also received systematic training and were very powerful. However, when they met a really powerful opponent, they could only catch people that the opponent didn't care about. The opponent's leader could still carry out the plan in such a situation. In the end, they had to force the young lady and the young master to do it themselves. Once they did it, they immediately got results. Wasn't that enough to explain the problem? When Wang Gang was sad, Zhang Xiaobao came back with a big bowl of soup. When he saw Wang Gang's appearance, he immediately understood what was going on. He smiled and said to Wang Gang, "It's good to be a good spy. It's not easy to be an excellent spy. Training is one thing, But the most important thing is that you have to have a unique style. Don't even think about it. When this is over, I'll write a summary for you all to read. Come, have some soup. I made a lot. While drinking the soup, Wang also talked about the matter of her opening the shop. Yesterday, she had just opened the shop during the day when the people from the local yamen came looking for all kinds of reasons and wanted to put her and the others in jail. In the end, they gave the other party a sum of money, 100 strings of cash, and promised to take out half of the profits to pay tax every day. Only then did the other party leave happily. This showed that the other party was very clear about the profits of big cigarettes, so they secretly changed the tax rate. I'm worried that our shop has been targeted by the people from the local government. There are no big cigarettes in other places. Occasionally, there are some, but they are not used for smoking. Since the people who came to cause trouble put the extract of poppy in a box and burned it to smoke, the way to smoke big cigarettes came to be. Since you said that the officials from the local government were involved, they must be suspicious. When we go out later, arrange for people to control the county government and not give them a chance to spread the news. At the same time, seize the time to interrogate and see how they communicate with each other. Wang concluded after she finished talking about what happened yesterday and today. Yes, we have to arrest them. We have confirmed that the officials in the local government are suspicious. Besides, there are other rich people in the county. Even if they are not in the reed marsh now, we have to investigate them. Our technology must keep up, especially film and phonograph. After we make them, let the people of the Tang Empire see more. We can even teach the people of the Tang Empire all kinds of tricks. Let them see all kinds of magical things and know that they are all lies. In this way, if anyone wants to cheat in the future, the people will just smile and think that the show is good. Xiao Gang, after you finish eating, go out and arrange things. Find our people, reveal your identity, and let them cooperate. Even though he was younger than Wang Gang, he still addressed him as Xiao Gang. Xiao Gang, Zhang Xiaobao instructed when he saw Wang Gang finish the soup as fast as he could. After Wang Gang went out, Wang immediately asked, Xiaobao, do you really intend to teach all the tricks to the people? Of course. Even if I don't teach them, there will be people who will think about it and specialize in cheating others. I don't understand why the local government didn't publicize the specific methods and steps they used to cheat people after they caught a very powerful swindler. They said that after it was publicized, there would be people who would learn to cheat others. But if all the people learned it, who would be able to cheat others? They have an ulterior motive. Zhang Xiaobao curled his lips and said. Wang sighed and said, in fact, it's very easy to understand. After they caught the swindlers, their tricks would be exposed. But if all the people learned it, then what means would the people in the relevant departments rely on to do their work? Just like the doctors in the hospital, their handwriting is very sloppy. Many interns who enter the hospital learn to recognize handwriting at the beginning. The purpose is naturally not to let normal people understand it, so as to maintain their status. They don't like to hear patients discussing pathology with them, because it challenges their authority. They only like patients who listen to what they say, instead of patients who can use special medical terms and know a lot of things. But they also know that as the way for the people to obtain knowledge becomes easier and easier, people become smarter and smarter. Their status is no longer stable. When others are sick, they can make a simple judgment and then go to buy medicine. So they have to write sloppily and don't let you understand it. It's useless even if you can read. Isn't it very sad? Of course, not all doctors are like this. Only those doctors who are not capable use this method to maintain the status of medical staff. The good ones are even willing to teach you simple medical knowledge. That is the real medical ethics. That's true. Zhang Xiaobao nodded and agreed with Wang's words. In fact, many industries have this common problem. It doesn't only appear in medical staff. For example, the technical staff in factories. The lower the level, the more secretive they are to newcomers. They didn't think about improving their own skills, but wanted to stop the newcomers from absorbing knowledge and experience. As for the real experts, no matter what the newcomers asked them, they would answer because they knew very well how difficult it was to reach the highest level of knowledge in their field. The more he learns, the more he understands the knowledge of his industry. Like the starry sky, he knows how small he is. He hopes that someone can learn more and then explore more profound places together. What you're saying is that you've already reached the top of other industries in the field of deception, right? That's why you are so modest and don't care if others learn. Wang Wan asked with a smile. Zhang Xiaobao pretended to be surprised. Is that so? I can't, because I know very well that the highest level of deception is to not deceive anyone. I'm still very small. Well, you can continue to brag about yourself. There are probably people who are even smaller than you who will feel uncomfortable. In fact, I'm also very small in military command. Wang Wan followed. There were indeed people who felt uncomfortable. In the courtyard behind the county office of Dukang County, the county magistrate, Fan Songfeng, was very uncomfortable. He did not rest well last night, and it was the same today. Ever since he found out that there was a Fusho restaurant in the county, he did not know why, but he was very worried. It seemed that even his breathing was not smooth. He could not eat or sleep. He knew the benefits of this thing. After smoking it, he would feel very comfortable and forget all his worries. His body would also have strength. However, he could not understand why other people besides that place also learned how to smoke with an opium pipe. Moreover, he heard from the people he sent that the details of the things made by the Fusho restaurant were actually better than the places he had worked with before. This was because the Fusho restaurant not only had cigarettes to smoke, but also soup to drink. The soup was very good. The people who came back said that after entering the restaurant, they were not immediately asked to sit down and smoke. Instead, they were asked to take a bath first. After bathing, they were asked to change into loose clothes and lie down. There was a chair specially made for smokers to lie down on. It was more comfortable than the place he went to. After lying down, someone was in charge of beating his body. Then, a bowl of soup was sent over. The people who were sent over also brought back something for the smokers. They said that the soup also had something related to smoking. After drinking it, one would feel warm and comfortable. After that, he lit the cigarette. The place he went to used ordinary matches to light the cigarette, but there was a good wooden stick there. The person who went there said that after the cigarette was lit, the smell of sulfur was gone, and there was a hint of fragrance. This made people puzzled. Who on earth was the new person who opened the Fusho restaurant? Where did he find the method? Did the people of the place he went know? Thinking about it, the county magistrate Fan felt even more uncomfortable. He felt a headache. He got up to get the opium pipe and asked someone to light it. After smoking 2 puffs, he felt much more comfortable and energetic. Only then did he continue to think about the Fusho restaurant. When he was thinking, the sky gradually brightened. Fan who did not know how many puffs he had smoked, was a little confused. All kinds of scenes were about to appear in front of him. It was like a dream. Fan was ready to enjoy. In the past, everything that appeared in front of him was good. There had never been anything bad. According to the people there, this was the only way immortals left for mortals to get in touch with the immortal realm. While waiting, Fan tried to think of happy things and waited for another puff. Finally, the scene appeared. But what was different from what he imagined was that the scene that appeared was not as good as before. Instead, it should be in the Imperial Palace in the capital. Moreover, there were 3 departments in the Imperial Palace that specialized in interrogating people: the Supreme Court, the Ministry of Censorate, and the Ministry of Justice. Chapter 1091. Looking at the scene in front of him, Fan was very puzzled. Why was it not the Immortal Palace today, but the Imperial Palace? Who would they go to interrogate? While Fan was pondering, a lot of people appeared in front of him. Some were holding chains, some were holding wooden shackles, and they were getting closer and closer to him. Looking at the people holding chains in front of him, Fan finally realized that something was wrong. They seemed to want to arrest him. What should he do? When he was afraid, he heard the sound of chains. Fan felt his body sink and his neck become cold. A chain was around his neck. I didn't break any laws. Why are you arresting me? I want to see the Emperor. I will go now. I know the Emperor must be in Xingqing Palace. Fan Hu immediately grabbed the chains and did not let them pull him away. At the same time, he threatened them. Do you see the disadvantages of smoking cigarettes? A good person actually turns stupid from smoking. That's why you guys shouldn't try it. Fan Hu heard another person on the other side say. He understood what they meant by smoking cigarettes. It was the thing he enjoyed. He suddenly remembered that he was enjoying his own life in the county. How could he appear in the capital? Fake, it must be fake. But what was with the chains? They looked like real chains. These people in front of him dared to enter the yamen and tie him up with chains. Were they tired of living? This official is the head of county. How dare you enter my residence and tie me up with chains? This official will punish you and throw you all in a prison. This official will also take care of your families. Why aren't you kneeling down and apologizing to this official? Fan Hu, who was still in the yamen, became tough and shouted at the people in front of him, whose faces he still could not see clearly. It was impossible for him to appear in the capital. Of course, he did not go to the Immortal Palace. While Fan Hu was enjoying his cigarette, the basin of water that he had asked someone to wash his feet was splashed onto Fan Hu's body by someone who had just come in. The cold water immediately woke Fan Hu up. The scenery in his eyes returned to how it was in the room. He could also see the faces of the people in front of him. After taking a closer look, Fan Hu became even angrier. Not only was he chained up, but the Yamen's registrar and deputy district magistrate were also chained up. Both of them were chained up as well. Not only were the thick chains around the neck of the registrar official and the deputy district magistrate, they were also chained to their wrists. There was also a huge copper lock that weighed about 6 kilograms. He lowered his head and looked at the chains on his body. They were just as thick. No wonder they were so heavy. Who dared to come to the yamen and tie up officials? Why did you? Fan Hu, who was puzzled, pointed at the registrar and deputy magistrate, trying to figure out what was going on. When the registrar saw Fan Hu's expression, he knew that the other party was still enjoying himself. He did not even see the symbol of the strong and healthy seedlings protection team on the person's chest. Shaking his head helplessly, the registrar official said to Fan Hu, "County magistrate, it's over. It's all over. The Zhang family and the Wang family have found out about us. I advise you to tell them more useful information. If you could do something for them, they might be able to kill you quickly." Although Fan Hu was splashed with water and woke up from the illusion, he was still a little confused. When he heard the registrar official's words, he asked, "Didn't the Zhang family and the Wang family come here before? They did not find anything wrong. Why are they here again today?" "Because they're going to make a move today. The people in the Reed Marsh will probably be captured as well. Sir, you should hurry up and tell us." "Don't you know more information? If you tell us, I'll be considered to have contributed." The registrar official could only tell Fan Hu patiently. He knew that his crime was not serious enough to be beheaded because he only smoked. He did not do anything secret with the other party. The main reason was that he was not as important as the county magistrate, so he knew less. After being caught this time, he would immediately push the blame to others. He believed that when this was over, his sentence would be lighter. He was just a person who did not report what he knew, and he did not know much. "What secret?" Fan Hu asked someone else's secret. "It's the people who contacted you. They always come at night and then leave at night. If you tell them where they are hiding, you can do something for them. Tell me quickly, I can do something for them too." The registrar official continued to persuade him. For many days, he had discovered this situation. If he told them today, it could be considered as proof of his merit. Fan Hu shook his head hard and said, "No, they are very important to me. I can't tell them. Otherwise, if they find Mount Lu and they are caught, I will lose my wealth in the future." The leader who came to arrest them was Zhang Nan. Originally, he brought people to arrest the people in the yamen, but he did not expect to gain additional benefits. When he heard Fan Hu mention Mount Lu, Zhang Nan knew that there was still a group of people. Not all of them were in the Reed Marsh. Fortunately, he had come. Otherwise, the people hiding in Mount Lu might have heard the news and left in advance. Although searching Mount Lu was not an easy task, he could think of a way to seal the mountain and not let anyone come out. Then he could search bit by bit. "Good, you have done something for them," Zhang Nan said to the registrar official. As for Fan Hu, in Zhang Nan's opinion, It did not matter if he did anything. His crime was too serious. To put it bluntly, it was treason. Not only Fan Hu, but even his family would be implicated. After speaking to the registrar official, Zhang Nan said to the people who came with him, "Did you see that? After smoking, he became stupid. Take him and gag him. Don't let him make a sound. I will go back to find the young master immediately and tell him this important news." After saying this, Zhang Nan left in a hurry. Fan Hu, who was locked up, was still muttering, "I can't say. If I say, they will harm me and my family. I believe in their ability. They will definitely let me live a life of wealth. Mount Lu will not be a place where they will stay for long. In the future, they will come out, and they will come out with absolute strength." Then, no one in the Meow Protection team had the time to explain to Fan Hu. They wanted him to be more clear-headed and see the situation clearly. This was because in a while, they would bring Fan Hu to the place of execution and continue to get more information from him. Otherwise, through the execution, they would see if Fan Hu was lying. When Zhang Nan returned to the courtyard, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were already ready to set off. Zhang Xiaobao put on a disguise again. He wanted to test the other party first. Wang Wan was going to join in the fun. There would not be many opportunities like this in the future. Who would create a secret organization to cause trouble for no reason? After Zhang Nan told him the news he had received, Zhang Xiaobao looked to the west. That was where Mount Lu was located. However, they needed to cross the river, so it was not on the side where the lake connected to the Yangtze River. After thinking for a while, he sent a message to Xiao Bei and the others. Tell them to rush over there as fast as they can and surround the entire Mount Lu. Send hot air balloons into the sky. Even if they can't find the other party immediately, they must not dare to eat cooked food and hunt in the mountain. The other party knows that a crafty rabbit has 3 burrows. Not bad. If the other party has stored tens of thousands of kilograms of food, salt, and oil at Mount Lu, it will not be easy to force them out in a short time. This is troublesome. Xiao Bao, do you think the other party has other hiding places and people? After Wang Wan praised him for a while, she started to worry. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. He also did not know how many people the other party had arranged. However, if a large number of hot air balloons are dispatched, the other party would definitely notice if they had people outside. However, there was no other way. Whether it was to surround the mountain or use the hot air balloons, the result would be the same. "I hope they don't arrange too many people outside," Wang Wan said again. Together with Zhang Xiaobao, she rode to the rendezvous point. When they arrived at the lakeside, Su Shan had already called for a large number of boats. There were 10 boats more than the 60 that Zhang Xiaobao had requested. The people who rowed the boats were all local fishermen. Until now, they still thought that they were going to fish for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang families, people who were searching the area. It was not until they saw more and more people gathering from all directions, and all of them were armed, that they realized that the situation was different from what Su Shan had said. They were all stunned. "Su Shan, didn't you say that we should set off to fish here together? Why are there so many people here? And all of them are from the Meow Protection team?" A person who was very familiar with Su Shan questioned Su Shan unhappily when he saw that the situation had changed. Su Shan did not care whether the other party was angry or not. Anyway, no matter how angry he was, he had to send people over according to the request of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. Therefore, he said to the person who asked, "What's the difference? We're all working for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. If I tell you the truth earlier, what if you're their spy?" As soon as Su Shan's voice fell, a person on a fishing boat that was following them plunged into the water with a splash. Circles of ripples appeared on the surface of the water, but the head of the person who had entered the water was nowhere to be seen. As soon as this person entered the water, more than 20 people who were boarding the boat also jumped into the water. These people from the Meow Protection team had already changed their diving gear to make it easier for them to swim in the water. Not long after, the person who had jumped into the water was dragged out of the water by 4 people. This person could not stop coughing. He probably drank a lot of water under the water. At the same time, his eyes were filled with panic. When the others saw this situation, they did not need anyone to deliberately remind them. They also knew what was going on. Su Shan and Wei Wei opened their mouths and looked sadly at the person who was caught. She asked angrily, "Old Huang, you and I have known each other for so many years, you sigh?" The person who was called Old Huang lowered his head and did not say anything. The others sighed. They knew that Old Huang was finished. Even if his family was not convicted, they would not have a good life in the future. Did you see that? I told you earlier that we were here to help Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family catch people. Old Huang would definitely find a way to leak the secret last night. Even now, there may be people among you who are with them. Su Shan's confidence was boosted, and he looked like a wise man. When the others heard Su Shan's words, they all looked at the people they knew around them. It seemed that everyone was like Old Huang who had betrayed them. Everyone is here. Let's go. Zhang Xiaobao did not care about the people who were caught. He found a place to sit down and gave the order to set off. In the reed marsh, at the bow of a boat, Hu Liang and his 8 brothers did not go in to smoke today. They had slept early last night. Today it was not bright yet. They had something on their minds, so they got up and dressed. However, their belts were very loose, and the loose buckle was very long. They did not even tie their clothes. They just left it open, and there was no second piece of clothing inside. They did not wear shoes. First, it was because there were not many people who wore shoes on the boat. Second, it was convenient for them to escape. In the morning, the fog in the reed marsh had not completely dispersed. There were still dewdrops hanging on the reeds. It seemed that today was a sunny day. The cabin, which had good sound insulation, was still full of singing and dancing. The people who came for entertainment did not have a regular work and rest schedule. There were people smoking, listening to music, and doing other things 24 hours a day. Staying at the bow, Hu Liang and his brothers were a little nervous. At the same time, there was more anticipation in their eyes. Today, they finally did not have to continue to worry, so no one was on guard duty. Just at the bow, the 8 of them whispered to each other. From time to time, the 8 of them would look up at the sky. There were not many clouds in the sky. They just felt that the sky was very blue. The people from the organization that they had fought their way in were also very surprised. They did not understand why the 8 of them were so excited. In the past, the 8 of them would wake up very late. Sometimes, they would only wake up at noon to eat and smoke. Soon, there will be hot air balloons flying in the sky. The 5th brother felt that time was passing very slowly. From time to time, he would look at the position of the sun. The sun did not seem to have moved at all. The same went for the reflection of the reeds on the boat. Don't talk about this. If we talk about something else and someone hears us, they will run away early. The eldest brother glared at the 5th brother. Okay. Let's talk about something else. Tell me, which boat is Sect Master Qi on right now? The 5th brother immediately changed the topic. When the 8 of them stayed on the boat, they secretly observed everyone's pattern when they had nothing to do. For example, the Sect Master Qi they were talking about was the leader they had met after coming here. They realized that Sect Master Qi would not stay on the same boat for too long every day. Moreover, there were times when he would go out. There was no pattern when he went out, and it was the same when he came back. The 8 of them woke up early in the morning to help Zhang Xiaobao catch the person more smoothly. They wanted to see if Sect Master Qi had left. If he was not, then things would be very troublesome. If he was, then it would be best to find out which boat he was on. When they arrived, they would point him out to prevent Sect Master Qi from taking advantage of the chaos to escape. Last night, I saw Sect Master Qi on boat number 1. According to his usual pattern, he would change boats every 4 hours. It should be around 8 hours now. Either he just changed to boat number 3 or boat number 2, or he is planning to change boats. Unless he is different today, then he will change to boat number 1. We just need to keep an eye on the boat below us and boat number 2. Otherwise, we can find an excuse and ask to see him. Then we will know where he is. 3rd brother observed very carefully and casually mentioned Sect Master Qi's pattern. Hu Liang waved his hand and said, "It's better not to look for him in case he notices something. He is really vigilant. Even if he is sleeping, as long as 4 hours have passed, he will definitely get up and change boats before continuing to sleep. Fortunately, the person who came was Xiao Bao. Otherwise, let's not talk about this. As they spoke, Hu Liang found that they were unknowingly talking about actions again. He quickly changed his words and changed to the topic of fish in the water. The other 7 people also cooperated and occasionally argued. Just as they were happily talking, the sect master Qi they were talking about just now walked out of the cabin of the boat they were on. He was already dressed and seemed to be planning to change to another boat. When sect master Qi walked out and saw the 8 of them, a warm smile appeared on his face. He walked over to the 8 of them and asked with concern, "Did you rest well last night?" "Yes, the chef on the boat cooked well. We even drank some wine before we went to sleep. I had a dreamless night." "Sect Master Qi, what do you want us to do today?" Hu Liang revealed a humble smile and slightly bowed as he spoke to Sect Master Qi. In his heart, he was cursing Sect Master Qi over and over again. He now understood Sect Master Qi very well. Don't look at how he usually had a face full of smiles when he met anyone. His heart was actually very ruthless. Ever since they broke in, they saw 6 people being tortured to death by Sect Master Qi. Even though they were members of the organization, Sect Master Qi wouldn't forgive them even if they made the slightest mistake. If the 8 of them hadn't brought something over and didn't reveal any flaws, Sect Master Qi would probably have killed them the moment he saw them. Sect Master Qi did not know what Hu Liang and the 8 of them were thinking, but he knew what impression they had of him was deliberately created by him. It was to make others fear him and worry about him at all times, so that they would not dare to have any other thoughts. Through this, he could achieve his goal of ruling. Good. It's good that you slept well. You are all people with merits. When we go back, there will be other rewards for you. I heard that 3 days ago, you found a second steward and wanted to change to a more tiring job. The second steward told me about it, but I did not agree. It's not that I don't trust you, but I am afraid that you will be tired. You risked your lives to get the 2-gun blueprints from the Zhang family and Wang family. I have to reward you properly. First of all, I can't let you do work that is too tiring. Since you came back, you can be considered to have been enjoying life. When there is something that others can't handle, they will naturally come to you. You are all very capable, so I can't let you use a sledgehammer to crack a nut. For now, you can enjoy yourselves. If there is anything you need, just tell the other workers. Other than not letting you leave and being caught if you are discovered, you can ask for anything else. Even if it is difficult to find food, I will think of a way to find it for you. Sect Master Qi had a caring look on his face as he spoke of not letting Hu Liang and the 8 of them work. He even reached out and patted Hu Liang's shoulder lightly. Yes, thank you, Sect Master Qi, for thinking so highly of us. In the future, we will work even harder. We are already eating well. Our sect's wealth and people cannot be wasted on us. We have no other requests. Sect Master Qi, take care. Seeing that Sect Master Qi was about to leave, Hu Liang thanked him gratefully. He bowed even more and respectfully sent Sect Master Qi off. Just as Sect Master Qi was about to board the small boat and switch to another big boat, the cry of a water bird came from afar. Hearing the sound, Sect Master Qi frowned and vigilantly looked at the road that the boat used to enter the reed marsh. His eyes were filled with suspicion. Hu Liang and the others were shocked when they heard the cry of the water bird. They were very clear that the cry was not the sound of the water birds in the lake, but was made by a person. In the past few days, the 8 of them had understood the meaning of the various sounds. The current sound was that the person in front had discovered a boat of unknown origin and was rapidly approaching them. Hu Liang and the others could not guess whether the boat was sent by Zhang Xiaobao or not. If it was, why was there only one boat? Could it be that Zhang Xiaobao did not have any manpower to use? Or was it to beat the grass and scare the snake? If it really came to beat the grass, wouldn't the person run away? Moreover, there were no hot air balloons in the sky. If it was not, then what boat was approaching? After the 8 of them came here, they had not seen any boat that was not related to the organization. It couldn't be so coincidental, right? Just as the 8 of them were bewildered, the cry of a water bird entered their ears. The 8 of them had never heard this before, so they were even more uncertain about who the boat was. At the same time, they were faintly worried. When sect leader Chi heard the sound, his frown deepened. He muttered, "What is he doing here?" Instead of staying in Hangzhou, he came to me. Could it be that he wants to seize my authority? Jiangzhou was indeed his original base, but now most people have started to follow me. If he really wants to seize power, then leave your people behind. When Hu Liang and the others heard sect leader Qi's voice, they had a plan in their hearts. It seemed that the person who came was from Hangzhou. When they were in Hangzhou, they had seen Shanfeng, but they did not know who was in charge in Hangzhou. Of course, what was even more unclear was that the person in Hangzhou actually had a base in Jiangzhou before. Now, it seemed that he had been taken over, and most people listened to sect leader Qi. They did not know if the person who came had seen Xiao Bao's arrangement. If he did, he would have to tell sect leader Qi, and Xiao Bao and the others would end up with nothing. If he did not see it, then it would be great. Once Xiao Bao's people came, not only would they capture sect leader Qi, but they would also capture an important person in Hangzhou. The 8 of them began to look forward to it. This time, sect master Qi didn't change ships. He waited on his current ship, wanting to see the purpose of the other party's arrival. At the same time, he whispered a few words into the ears of the person protecting him. That person got off the small boat and rowed towards another large ship. After waiting for about half an hour, they could faintly see a boat rowing towards them through the gaps in the reeds. As for what the people on the boat looked like, they could not see for the time being. As the sound of rowing approached, a small boat passed through the reeds and approached the big boat. At this moment, the people on the big boat could see clearly that there were only 2 people on the boat. The small boat was a fishing boat that the locals usually used to fish. There was a shed on the boat, but the back of the shed was now open. When the light shone in, they could see that there was no one else inside. The 2 people on the small boat were a man and a woman. The man's beard swayed in the wind, and he wore a light yellow silk robe. The woman had bright eyes and white teeth, and she was very beautiful. Her hair was combed into clouds, and a golden hairpin was inserted in her hair. A pearl chain dangled from it, and it swayed slightly. When they saw the man, the people on the boat did not have any extra expression, but when they saw the woman, their eyes lit up. Some even swallowed their saliva. This woman not only had a beautiful face, but also a beautiful figure. Unfortunately, they did not know her at all. Sect leader Qi also set his eyes on the woman. He also wanted to get close to her. As for the man, he did not have any intention to get close to him. Soon, the boat approached. Sect leader Qi waited for the 2 people to board the big boat one after another. He smiled and said, "Sect leader Ning, what wind blew you here? I was wondering why I was in such a good mood today. It turns out that we have an honored guest. Who is this?" Sect leader Qi greeted the man with a welcoming look. Then, he looked at the woman and asked in confusion. The man also chuckled and said, "You're welcome. I'm not an honored guest. If I don't go out, I'll be bored at home all the time. Since there's nothing else, I'll go home and have a look. She's a new person I found. Although she's a woman, her skills are not small. In fact, she was sent from Japan. I'm teaching her how to speak the language here. It's very interesting." The woman immediately greeted sect leader Qi in Japanese. She looked very shy, but her voice was very gentle, making people feel comfortable. Sect leader Qi's eyes lit up. He nodded and greeted the woman, but when he saw the man in front of him again, the good mood that had just appeared disappeared. He had already heard from the other party's words that the other party did not intend to give up this foundation. He still wanted to be like before. With a command, everyone would submit. Of course, what he just said was also to tell the other party that Jiangzhou was no longer the other party's world. He could come, but only as a guest. Sneering in his heart, sect leader Qi asked the man, "Sect leader Ning, I wonder why you're here? You still need to personally oversee Hangzhou. Don't be careless." His words expressed the meaning of a superior to a subordinate. It was both a question and an assignment. "It's not a big deal. I just came back to see how you've done. I've seen it in Dochong. It's okay. I'm quite satisfied with what you've done. When it's time to reward you, you should have a big contribution." The man smiled and praised sect leader Qi. This time, not only was sect leader Qi dissatisfied, but the other people who followed him to protect him also glared at him. Hu Liang and the others did not leave. After hearing the conversation between the two of them, they were very happy. Fight with all you might. The deeper the conflict, the better. Who knows, they might be able to find more clues and tell Xiaobao. Sect leader Qi was obviously angry. The smile on his face disappeared, and he said in a flat tone, "We'll talk about it later. Right now, things haven't been settled. Did you think of a way to deal with the women of the Zhang family and the Wang family in Hangzhou? Li Longji is also there. You can't miss this opportunity. You have to grasp it. Otherwise, when things are done, others won't agree to you even if you want to get credit. Even if I put in a good word for you, the result will be the same. Go inside." After reprimanding the man, sect leader Qi turned around and walked into the cabin. The man behind him also walked in, but he seemed to have discovered something strange. He turned his head and looked at Hu Liang and the others. He seemed to be in deep thought. Then he pointed at the 8 people and said, "That's right, sect leader Qi. Weren't you captured by the Zhang family and the Wang family when you were on the canal? Why are you here now? Sect leader Qi, do you know the people of the Zhang family and the Wang family? Why do you care about the people they captured?" When the man said this, he had a vigilant look on his face. He put his hand on his waist, where a sword was hanging. The woman pulled out 2 daggers from her sleeves and glanced back and forth at the people beside sect leader Qi. Sect leader Qi turned around and sneered. He said, "Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan are close. Not to mention the people they captured. Even if you asked them to assassinate Li Longji now, they would agree. Humph, you don't know what happened in Hangzhou. Let's go inside first." After saying this, he walked into the cabin again, not caring whether the man would follow him or not. The man stared and put his hand down from his waist again. At the same time, he gave the woman beside him a look. The woman also put the dagger back in her sleeve. The man looked at Hu Liang and the other 8 people again and said, "The 8 of you follow me in. I have something to ask you." After saying this, he and the woman next to him walked into the cabin. Hu Liang and the other 8 people were in a difficult situation. They didn't want to go in. They were still waiting for Zhang Xiaobao's people to come. They had jumped into the water to avoid being attacked by the people on the boat. If they went in and Zhang Xiaobao's people came, what would they do? Not to mention seeing the hot air balloons in the sky. Although they were in a difficult situation, they didn't dare to object. What if the other party didn't get along with sect leader Qi and couldn't take care of him? What if he vented his anger on them? If things didn't go well, it was very likely that he wanted the 8 of them to go in and use them as punching bags at any time. After weighing the pros and cons, Hu Liang and the other 8 people very reluctantly moved their feet and walked in. After entering the cabin, the noise immediately filled their ears. Sect leader Qi chose a room that wasn't usually open to the public and walked in first. The 4 people who followed him also went in. Then the man and the woman went in, followed by Hu Liang and the other 8 people. The space in the room wasn't small. It didn't seem too crowded when a group of people came in. There was a big table in the room with seasonal fruits on it. There was also an incense burner smoking, and there was a faint sandalwood fragrance in the room. Sect leader Qi sat on the main seat first. When a man also sat down, he immediately said, "Sect leader Ning, how many days do you plan to stay this time? You can't relax about the matter in Hangzhou. You'd better find an opportunity to attack the Zhang family and the Wang family, as well as Li Longji. Even if a woman dies, the Tang Empire will be in chaos for a while. If Li Longji dies, our opportunity will come. We don't have to make a small fuss like now." The man casually sat there and glanced at the fruits on the table. He picked up one and said, "There are tomatoes. Good. Sect leader Qi is really capable. I remember that there are only 2 places where tomatoes can be found. One is in the greenhouse of the agriculture temple, and the other is in the greenhouse of the Zhang family and the Wang family. Ordinary people can't get tomato seeds, and even if they did, they wouldn't plant them in the greenhouse. It seems that you really are very familiar with the Zhang family and the Wang family. I've already made arrangements for the matter in Hangzhou. I expect that there will soon be some shocking news. As for you, it seems that you haven't made much of a move yet, but you've already lost an opportunity to assassinate them. Zhang Xiaobei and the others are still alive and well. In addition, because your assassination failed, the Zhang family and the Wang family have put all of Jiangzhou under martial law, especially Xuanyang. The entire city has been sealed off, and of the people we arranged there, not a single one will be able to escape. When the people of Xuanyang said that they would dig 3 feet into the ground to find them, they weren't just saying that. They really dug. I naturally have my own methods, but don't worry. The people of the agriculture temple don't know whose hands the tomatoes they took out will end up in. There's also no need to be afraid that they'll find out who we are and investigate you. As for the people we lost in Xuanyang, you can't blame me. I wasn't in charge of this matter, or else we wouldn't have failed. It was the people you left behind who were incompetent. But this time is also good. Now that something has happened, we can clean up those incompetent people. We don't need trash, whether it's the trash working at the bottom or the key figures. Those who can't do anything should consciously give up their authority so as to avoid delaying matters. Sect Master Qi leaned back, his gaze slanting down at the man as he spoke, his voice brimming with dissatisfaction. The man, Wei Wei, stared blankly for a moment, then nodded in understanding. Oh, it truly was my oversight. In the future, I need to be more cautious when arranging people. I wonder how Lushan is doing. Xuanyang's investigation is very strict. Perhaps Lushan's arrangements will be disrupted. There's no need to worry about Lushan. Sect Master Yang isn't a piece of trash. The arrangements, they're already more or less complete. As soon as I make my move, the Zhang family and Wang family will focus their attention on me. Very few people will pay attention to him, so much so that they won't even know of our existence at Lushan. When the time comes, they'll immediately follow suit. In this way, the Zhang family and Wang family will be like headless flies. Everyone says that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan are formidable. We'll let them know that they're only pretending to be formidable in front of ordinary people. Compared to us, they're nothing. Sect Master Qi sneered again and again. The 4 people in charge of protecting him also smiled, their hearts brimming with pride. On the other hand, Hu Yang's group of 8 widened their eyes in horror. They hadn't expected that there would still be enemies at Lushan. Even if the people here were captured, there was a high chance that the people at Lushan would escape. Who knew whether or not Sect Master Qi had the means to contact Lushan in an emergency? For example, the 8 of them had thought of setting fire to the reed marshes. As soon as the wind blew, people not too far away would hide there and be responsible for relaying information. They would use the fastest speed possible to inform Lushan of the problem. It's over, it's over. What should we do? Hu Yang was worried. He looked at Sect Master Qi, then at the 4 people protecting him. At the same time, he didn't forget to look at the newcomer, Sect Master Ning, and that Japanese woman who everyone said was very formidable. Finally, Hu Yang looked at the 7 brothers and used his eyes to communicate. The 7 of them immediately tensed up and adjusted their breathing, because from Hu Yang's eyes, they could see that the 8 of them wanted to take action against the 7 of them. Thinking about it, since the other side still had people in Lushan, and they were afraid that the other side would spread the news, then they should take advantage of this opportunity to subdue the 7 of them. Wouldn't that prevent the news from spreading? The 8 people's expressions changed. The man sitting there and the woman standing next to him saw it. Sect Master Qi also didn't miss it. He glared at Hu Yang and the others and said, "What's wrong with you? Now that there's nothing in the room, you can go out first. Wait for me to finish talking with Sect Master Ning. Then I'll let Sect Master Ning ask you. You dare to stare at me? Are you trying to rebel?" Hu Yang took a deep breath, stood up and shouted, "We are rebelling. Surnamed Qi, we've been wanting to deal with you for a long time. Let me tell you, you're going to be finished soon. Come on, brothers." After shouting, Hu Yang was the first to rush towards Sect Master Qi. Of the other 7 people, 5 of them also went to deal with Sect Master Qi, while the other 2 rushed towards the man sitting there and the woman beside him. You dare? Kill them. Sect Master Qi was furious. He didn't expect that the people he suspected were really bought over by the Zhang family and the Wang family. Fortunately, he was careful and didn't give them such an important task. However, these 8 people really hid themselves well. If he didn't want to be cautious, even if he shouldn't be suspicious, he would still be suspicious. Otherwise, these 8 damn things would have succeeded in their sneak attack. Now, even if he dealt with these 8 people, he estimated that they would have no choice but to bow their heads in front of this Ning person, who told him to put these 8 people on his side. Moreover, when he was talking outside just now, he even acted like a guarantor for these 8 people. Sect Master Qi's mind turned very quickly, almost thinking of so many things in an instant. The person responsible for protecting him had already stepped forward with a knife. Only then did he feel relieved. He looked at Ning Tian and the woman in front of him, hoping that the woman wouldn't get hurt. Maybe he could think of a way to get this Japanese woman. However, when he looked in that direction, he stood up in shock and dodged backward. He wanted nothing more than to smash through the wall of the cabin and rush out. This was because he saw the woman put her hands into her sleeves. When she took them out again, she had an additional weapon in each hand. However, it wasn't the dagger that she had taken out before, but 2 pistols. In his eyes, Ning Tian also took out 2 pistols in the blink of an eye. Pistols, these were real things. He couldn't even get one even if he wanted to. There was no way at all. The Great Tang army didn't allow the use of pistols outside, only in the capital. However, pistols were never allowed to be taken out by soldiers. They referred to pistols, but now, these 2 people took out pistols. How could they have pistols? How did they get them? More importantly, why were they pointing the pistols at him? Sect Master Qi thought that Ning Tian wanted to take advantage of the chaos to kill him, and then say that he missed. In that case, the authority that he worked so hard to obtain would be transferred to someone else. Ning Tian would definitely be able to take the majority of the authority because he had a real gun, not the kind of gun that would take too much effort to shoot a bird. Pooh! Following 4 sounds that sounded like someone hitting a blanket, Sect Master Qi's 4 guards were all knocked to the ground. They didn't have any chance to resist, and all of them were hit in the head. Not to mention that the 4 of them weren't prepared. Even if they were, judging from the accuracy of the pistols, they probably wouldn't have been able to dodge. The result would still be a headshot. When Sect Master Qi's 4 guards fell, Hu Liang and the others who were about to fight with the 4 of them were stunned. What was the meaning of this? Their own people had attacked first. Was this an internal conflict? After the 8 of them were confused, they hesitated for a moment. Then, Hu Liang gritted his teeth and continued to charge at Sect Master Qi. The people beside him did the same. They planned to hold Sect Master Qi down and see if they could negotiate with the newcomers who had guns. The 2 people who were rushing towards the man and woman stopped. They were not stupid. They knew that rushing over would not end well. That was a real gun. Didn't they see how the 4 people's heads were blown up in the blink of an eye when they were shot? Hu Liang and the others who were charging at Sect Master Qi thought that the 2 people would shoot them. In the end, when they restrained Sect Master Qi who wanted to resist but couldn't beat the 6 people, the 2 people didn't continue to shoot. Ning Tian, what is the meaning of this? Why are you hitting my people? If you don't hit them, you want power? Don't you care about the proper matters of the organization? After Sect Master Qi was restrained, he first questioned the man sitting there loudly. Then he said to Hu Liang and the others, Good. You actually dared to attack me. I really underestimated you. That's right. What benefits did the Zhang family and Wang family give you to work for them? I can give you more benefits than the Zhang family and Wang family. Also, I can protect your family and not let anyone hurt them. I even know where they live. Don't worry. The meaning of his words was a threat. He also offered a temptation. He hoped that Hu Liang and the others would let him go for the sake of their family. As for the benefits, once he was safe, all 8 of them would die. He would torture them a death bit by bit to vent his anger. It was the same for their family. When he tortured them, he would bring their family members to them. Ning Tian, who Sect Master Qi was talking about, sat there and didn't immediately speak. Hu Liang looked at the two people with guns warily. He seemed to be talking to Sect Master Qi, but also seemed to be letting them know something. The Zhang family and Wang family have already protected our family. The people you arranged over there are all targeted by the Zhang family and Wang family. They won't give them a chance to hurt our family. As for the benefits you spoke of, the Zhang and Wang clans have given us a chance to be upright and honest Tang people. We will no longer believe in those deceptive immortals of yours, because we saw something even more miraculous on Xiaobei's ship. That's true ability. In truth, they won't kill you all. As long as you stop your sabotage of the Great Tang, they'll definitely let you go and give you some benefits. After all, you're very formidable, and the Great Tang needs people like you. Hu Liang spent a lot of effort to persuade them to surrender. At this moment, the man sitting there said, "Sect Master Qi, didn't I say that you would soon know about the shocking matter in Hangzhou? Now is the time. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.